Hey. Here we go. Woohoo!
Step inside the Smashbox with Jonny V and Terry Miller, the disc golf guy.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV's podcast number 26. I'm your host, Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, joined by my pantsless friends, Jonny V.
You can't tell him that.
I like how you put a shirt on before the show, but...
Well, I was in a white T-shirt that had kind of pizza sauce on it for my daughter, so I figured it'd be a little bit nicer. I've got my laundry room right there, so I grabbed something right off the top.
Yeah, a full wardrobe change would be nice, though.
Well, only what they can't see won't hurt them.
I think you've used that line before, and then it doesn't usually pan out too well.
Cops are usually involved.
So we are glad you guys are here tonight. As you can tell, I sound maybe a little nasally now. It might be just sheer exhaustion or being a little bit tired, but I feel great. And I think my voice, for the most part, is back.
It's a little raspy yet, but it's getting better. I think maybe you got 2 more weeks in you.
Maybe. Well, if you're watching any of the action, or when you will be watching the action from this last weekend, not only do I have to go into like full creepy voice so I don't disturb the players, but then it's cracking and screeching and grumbly. It's all over the place when you listen to the commentary from the Nick Hyde Memorial. So I'll kind of sort of pre-apologize for that. You're going to get what you get. I sound a little creepy.
Well, no more than normal to me.
Yeah, exactly. I know you're used to it. So we got a great group out there. Please go out and share the link with everyone that you can. We saw someone on the board just asked how he could do it. There's actually this nifty little function that says share right on the bottom. If you're watching it on a computer screen and it's not in full screen, there's a few options, including share and thumbs up. Of course, we'd love some thumbs up and stuff. But if you click on that share button, it'll give you a link by default, and it automatically copies it. So you just have to go into there, grab that, and then you can post it anywhere you want, and it will link to our show. So please do that. And if you're watching and you want to change the little gear button and bump up your resolution to 720.
We haven't told people that in a while.
I know, because you were like, oh, I'm done telling them that.
I am done. I took it out of our show notes.
I know, but I've just figured here's a good reminder.
It's a good reminder because it's been like at least a month or so since we've said it.
So you can watch it in 720 action.
That'll help with all the little graphics, the new little lower thirds and stuff I put in there.
Oh, is that your shameless plug that I'm supposed to say? Nice graphics.
I don't care what you say.
Good job, buddy.
I don't care what you say.
You got to make sure you spelled everything right. I didn't pre-approve these.
Well, considering I did it about 5 minutes ago, I had the very lower template right, but then I did kind of the people template.
Well, I think that looks good.
Looks right.
Until we aren't on a Tuesday.
That's when we normally are. So
I know normally.
And if I want, I can change it. That's the nice thing about graphics.
You can change graphics.
Yeah.
Wow.
Barely.
So certainly, and somebody just recently had asked me something about. They said, "Well, I missed your show. I don't know if I can. Can I see it again?"
Too bad. No, it's lost
gone.
to the internet.
I hear they get rid of everything on the internet.
Usually once a week they purge.
Yeah, just purge the internet, and there's nothing.
So if you wanted to see Gangnam Style, you can't.
No,
it's
I don't
gone.
know what that is anymore.
That's right.
So there's lots of different ways, and of course on all the podcast features, you guys can go out there and find us on those. We realize the shows have been running very long, especially if they include the after show. Bite off as much as you want is kind of what I say. Somebody said, "Oh man, it said like 4 hours on your show." And, well, the real show is probably only about closer to 90 minutes, hopefully. And then it's usually just us talking stupid after that.
Usually. There's a lot of that. And, we've had some good conversations. Some people, some thread starters, as we will call them. And I think that they're going pretty well.
I would say so. I mean, if you, I had somebody request that I go on a weekly rant because that's what they like. Wow. And I said, we may not have too much to talk about if I just continue to rant on everything. I do have a few things that worked me up this week, so maybe we'll talk about that. Mark Verocki, says HD allows us to see the blemishes on her face. That's how I know you're lying, because there's no blemishes here. Especially for our podcast listeners that are taking the audio-only version. Yeah. So, yeah, Mark. Anyway, what do we got on deck here tonight, Johnny?
What do we always have on deck? We got Dana sitting here in our green room, rubbing his head,
Yep.
giving us the pointer fingers, shooting at us.
I think he's just waking up. Everybody talks about how tired he always looks.
He is. We got Gregg Barsby tonight as a guest, so we'll catch up with him. I'm kind of scared because we didn't do any test with him.
I did.
I know, right before the show. Usually we get the podcast. So, Greg, if you're listening, we prefer headphones and keep the volume down, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know if Greg owns headphones.
It's, if...
Okay, maybe that's a signature
that's
accessory
of
of Greg's.
That's kind of his thing.
Headphones and ponytails.
We have Dear Disc Golf, I Love You, with Zoe. Our news and social media. And weekly picks.
I have a pro tip this week, too. Kind of two of them. Well,
why not spread them out?
Because they somewhat coincide. They're they're similar but different, and there's something that was experienced this weekend, so they're somewhat timely.
Sure.
And they kind of go hand in hand with one another. So you're getting two pro tips for the low price of $3.99 tonight.
Awesome. All right. Well, without further ado, I think we do need to bring in a guest.
No.
All right.
Boom goes the dynamite.
Dana, you're here.
Yep. Hold your applause, everybody.
Can you hear the applause?
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't see anybody clapping in the room.
Yeah, there's
the chat room. There's no applause.
There's a clapping emoji, and we don't see any appearing.
Yeah, we'll probably. I mean, we're behind, but now we'll probably get a ton of them. So.
Yeah, there's tons of people clapping right now. I guarantee it.
I bet.
Yeah, the only thing that's probably clapping are the mice that are running around in your house.
I just killed another one yesterday.
Impressive.
Oh, well, if you can't get birdies, go after mice. Sorry.
That's what they say, huh?
That's what I just said.
Terry says.
All right. What's up? You got a few updates for us from the last weekend, buddy?
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to start here in Illinois, down in the greater Peoria area. We had the Central Illinois Amateur Championships. I actually went down. The tournament started on Saturday. I went down Friday. The tournament director, Jonny Harrison, who runs the Plastic Addict shop, actually relocated his shop one door over and had a grand reopening. So I went down and checked that out, did a little putting clinic, talked to a lot of people and hung out. It was a really good time. They had a putting competition and all that, but huge store. It's only about 5 minutes from the famous McNaughton Park. So if you guys are in the area, you should check it out, or you can check them out online, plasticaddicts.net. But taking down the advanced field was IMAC. I think I've talked about IMAC on here. Isaac McDonald. He is from Lockport, Illinois, which is just down the road from here. He's I think he's like a freshman, but this kid's a beast.
Freshman in high school, to clarify.
Yes, freshman in high school. And I think the other week he was busy winning like 4 events at a track meet, and here he was taking down this pretty big A tier. So congratulations to IMAC, who is Paul Ulibarri's protege. So good work to him. We had semi-pro Greg Freeman. He finished in 2nd place. And another semi-pro, Matt Travis, finished in 3rd, tied with Gavin Rathburn and Andrew Nilsson. So congratulations to those guys. I do want to say, keep an eye out, obviously, for Isaac, but this Gavin Rathburn, who's from Oswego, Illinois, he's sponsored by Innova. He's quite a player, and he's getting better and better. So keep an eye out for that name. And that's all I got from that event.
Pretty bold
Kaiser
mood.
Bombs.
Pretty bold mood of leading in with an amateur tournament, Dana. Some may say there's a little hometown favoritism there.
no, you got to give the AMs some love too.
Oh yeah,
You know?
I don't disagree. I'm just saying that's a bold move, opening up your show after taking a couple weeks off back there, and now you're back here, and
I'm not gonna.
I took
He took 1 week off
a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
a couple weeks ago, and I'm not going to hold it against him because there's too many times later in the show that you plug a lot of your events, like little C tiers or B tiers that 90%, 99% of our listening audience probably can't.
No,
make it
I
to.
disagree. 99%.
99% of our listening audience, not necessarily our watching audience. We have a lot of watchers, but we do get quite a few later viewers and podcast listeners. So you plugging your little events, I'll give Dan a little hometown love.
My next B tier, May 9th. What? Go on.
Anyway, shameless plug.
Yeah, I'm also running one May 9th, so real cool, Terry. I had mine on the tour schedule way before you. But
Yeah.
no one wants to hear us argue. Maybe they do, but let's talk about Matt Surrey and Heiserbaum, who hosted the Nick Hyde Memorial down in Texas. Looks like you're repping your Heiserbaum sweatshirt.
I am. I figured that would be timely and appropriate to have the Heiserbaum sweatshirt back on.
Yeah, so you did go down there for what? You got down there Wednesday?
Wednesday night, and in true pro tour fashion, Wednesday night wasn't a time for practice. That was the time for a little bit of laser tag and some karaoke.
You played laser tag?
I played laser tag, I think, for the first time in 15 or 20 years. I don't remember the last time I played. And I'm just going to go on record. I didn't get around to posting it. I destroyed everyone.
Really?
Not only did my team and a bunch of people I'd never met before, Team White Chocolate, a whole bunch of us had never met before. I joined a rogue team, and our team won, and on top of it, I had the single most amount of tags or kills or whatever you call them.
Sure.
Destroyed everyone. Everybody was Drew Gibson, the whole crew, Paige. It was quite a fun bunch, but it was fun destroying them. So anyway, laser tag, karaoke, and what else on a Wednesday
Did you karaoke?
night? I did
ask.
not.
Okay.
I filmed some incredibly hilarious karaoke though.
We can't wait to see the outtakes.
Bobby Music and Steve Rico and Drew Gibson singing Taylor Swift. Yeah, I think that's a video blog in the making.
Well, unfortunately,
Just saying.
there's your one Taylor Swift reference for the week.
That's fine.
All right, go ahead, Dana.
Yes. Taylor Swift. Yeah, my niece likes her. So when I was looking at the pre-registration list beforehand, a number of things jumped out at me. I saw a few names I did not quite expect to see down there in Texas this early in the year. One name being Brian Schweberger and the other Steve Brinster. Usually don't see these guys traveling too much this early in the year outside of, the national tours or maybe, the majors. You see Schwebe come out to some of the majors and whatnot. I guess that's what adding 10K to the payout does. It brings some of the big dogs out.
Well, he added 10K, and the kind of the running theme in the award ceremony was for all these players from all around the country, they all kind of started the same. So I got this Facebook message from this Matt Seary guy, and then I got this phone call from Matt Seary, and then I got 38 more Facebook messages from this Matt Seary. So Matt was very aggressive in going after getting a bunch of the top players. So like you said, Dana, not only did he add the 10K, but he actively was seeking out these players to bring the best to these courses. So a little ferocious tenacity and some other things. And like you said, 10K, money talks. And it was also a really good event. It was a memorial for Nick Hyde, of course, and there was a really, we'll say, touching opening speech or kind of reading that took place by Casey Wright. It was really touching.
Well, rest in peace, Nick. The other thing that I noticed was that Johnny McRae was not in. He was signed up for the event, but signed up in the Masters division. Can you fill us in on that, Terry? I mean, I thought he's pretty set on playing Open. We see him even play Open Worlds, where you might think that he would, play Masters and try to get himself a Masters World Championship. Here he was. Did all those big dogs scare him down into the Masters division or what?
He just made it sound like he's going to kind of play it by ear, where he's at, what he's doing, and I think that's what you're going to see more of is just kind of him checking out the fields and deciding where he wants to play on any given weekend. But
Yeah.
it was it was interesting because when we did have a conversation, he was talking about whether he, where he would have scored compared to the open field, and he was kind of doing that after each round, kind of checking things out. And we could argue all day long if it's the exact same or not, comparing the scores. But raw score wise, it was he was obviously pretty competitive.
Yeah, but I feel like it's a different game in the Masters division. It's a whole different. You're not playing against Paul Macbeth.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. We had this conversation
matters.
last week. Danny, did you listen to our entire after show? Because we had this conversation. Was it during the after show or before?
Well, as listeners out there know, or the watchers, I should say, I usually look pretty tired about this time. So I don't make it too far into the show, and I definitely don't make it into the after show.
You do know you can watch it after the fact.
Yeah,
I mean,
we could send you links.
You have lunch hours. You have after.
Drive to
we're
school.
good to listen to during a run. If you want, we'll record something that sounds like we're chasing you.
Or mowing the lawn. I mean,
yeah, you're a homeowner now. You got lots of time on your hands.
I don't have a lawnmower.
Oh.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you should probably save up.
Well, here's a word of advice from a homeowner who went out and thought, when I first got my house, I'm gonna do the environmental thing. I'm gonna get a push mower.
Yeah.
About 2 months later, I went out and bought a regular mower because if you let it go just a hair too long, that push mower is worthless. And I ended up giving away the push mower. So go out and get yourself a nice Craftsman or John Deere and make yourself happy. Trust me.
Yeah, we'll see if that's in the budget.
Run it. You know what? All you got to do is skip one tournament.
Yeah.
See how that goes.
Wait, skip one tournament?
No, you meant win. Win one.
Or win one tournament. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. I got a million other things I'd buy before a damn lawnmower, though.
Okay, we'll get back to this conversation in about 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so back to the Nick Hyde. Stacked open field. Paul Macbeth.
Now, when Matt
Take
Seary
it down.
when Matt Seary called and emailed all these pros to get him, did he neglect to say Paul Macbeth was coming?
Yeah.
Did he kind of be like, oh no, come, I got all this added cash. A bunch of you guys are gonna be there.
We're paying out really thick, second through 10th.
Second through 10th will be really. No, he just wouldn't. Do you think he just didn't put him on the pre-reg list?
No, he was
know.
on there. He was on there, but
and none of these guys would not come because Paul's there.
Yeah,
that's
of
something
course.
you and I would do.
yeah.
So, yeah, Paul. Wow. Again. So my pick from last week when someone asked me if I had a pick at the from Nick Hyde, and I went out on a limb and picked Macbeth. Followed up.
Well, how often do you see Macbeth down 3 after the first round?
I think it's more about the final round, but go on. I see what you're getting at. He was down 3 after the first round. Who was in first, Terry?
Gregg Barsby, our guest tonight. How convenient. Yeah, Gregg Barsby had a really phenomenal round. He went out to they played the Rockwell course first, the Harry Myers Park, and Eric McCabe was on his card, and Eric McCabe was kind of telling some other people that that Barsby didn't have a single 4 out there. He did have 1-5 on a par 5, an 888-foot hole, with OB left and right. So he had a 5 there, but otherwise he had no 4s out there. And that course is, wow, that's just truly amazing to know that he didn't have any 4s out there. There's, I don't know, I'd have to do all the math, but there's probably 7 or 8 par 4s.
Wow.
And so the fact that he didn't even par one of those, there was 2 par 4s and then 7 or 8 or 6 par 4, 2 par 5s and then 6 or 7 par fours, and he just played really phenomenal. And then if you want me to give you the full details, that we went to the second round, and he was on the leader card, of course, leading, and Macbeth and a few others, and Nate Sexton, Bradley Williams were all there with him, and he got started a little late during that round. I mean, he was physically there on time, but his game got started a little late, and when it was all said and done, on the very final hole of that round, Macbeth actually had one of the few major mistakes I guess we saw from him. He just flat out missed the Mando on the 19th hole, and so he still got up and down, took a 4 on a par 4, but with that, Barsby was able to only be down 3 to him at the end of the round, so they were all knotted up going into Sunday's third round. And then, I wouldn't say that Macbeth dominated or played insanely well. He played very well on Sunday, but everyone else just couldn't keep up. And it wasn't because he pulled away in a major way. He just he played very steady, very consistent. He even had actually a couple of what I thought were really uncharacteristic mistakes. And then he went into the finals and he just tore it up. Him and Schusterek. It was amazing when afterwards someone had said that had he birdied the last hole, he would have went 9 down in the 9-hole finals.
Wow.
But instead, him and Schusterek, I think, only went 8 down in the 9-hole finals. So it was, he even said, he won by 5. I think his phrase was that he didn't even think it was he didn't feel like it was that dominant though, because he kind of turned it on late, and
he went. Here's his round ratings. Round 1, 1062. Round 2, 1062. Round 3, 1062. So he didn't go off, and have that phenomenal that round that Barsby had first round, where Barsby's 50 was a 1086, but he just he played solid. Probably, like you said, saw a few mistakes that you don't really see from Macbeth, but you do see, and just incredibly consistent right there.
Well, and he didn't have the hottest round in the first round because Barsby did, and he didn't have the hottest round the third round. Schusterek actually had a better score by 1. So he did what he can do, and there was no crazy 1099 or 1108 round or anything crazy like that. So pretty solid.
Yeah.
Dana, what would you give to average 1062 for a 3-round tournament? And how many would you still get beat by at the Memorial when you average 1062 for 3 rounds?
Yeah, I guess it depends on which tournament you go to.
Yeah,
because the Memorial is notorious for having a couple big scoring rounds. 1062 solid probably won't win you that event.
No,
it'll take top 5, but won't win you that event. Yeah, that's a good question, Dana.
That's just the course. You go to any other NT, and if you're shooting 1062 across the board, you're going to be up there in the top 3, if not winning.
Yeah, you'll win a few of those for sure.
But
very impressive.
Yeah, so I'll round out the top 6. It looks like you guys had a final 9 for the top 6. It was Macbeth, Barsby. Macbeth, who won 2,500. Barsby, $2,000. Schusterek, 1,500. And then Wysocki in 4th. It looks like Wysocki struggled in that final 9. What was going on? Did he miss the first hole?
And no, he just had a few. He had a few bad shots, and then you could tell that he kind of wasn't mentally all in it, and a few things compounded, and he just kept slipping by. And there were 1 or 2 holes where it was a 2-stroke swing. There was a couple of holes that were very twoable or birdieable, and I'm thinking hole 15 in particular. I think he foured it. He went long on an approach and then just missed a putt that was very uncharacteristic, and it just didn't seem like he was really into it. Yeah. And he was struggling. I'll say this about all the him and all the players maintained their composure very well. I didn't see anything unsportsmanlike out there at all this weekend, actually, and
That's good.
You can't always say that, but this weekend it seemed like everybody kept it under
no one
control.
kicked any baskets over. I heard that's happened in Texas.
Yes, correct. I did not see any. No baskets were kicked over.
Nice, good.
I didn't see any bags thrown. I didn't see I didn't even see a bag kicked by anyone. So
Good.
yeah, we shouldn't be impressed by
No,
that. But
no, and I'm not.
Yeah.
Those are the exception, not the rule.
yeah. So yeah, he slipped quite a few places. I mean, he gave up 6 strokes alone to Schusterich during that round. You know, he was tied. He was obviously ahead of him by quite a few, and he gave up 6 strokes alone just to Schusterich. So he was able to get past for that reason, and he was in a tie with Barsby. It looks like, 5. Looks like he had Barsby even by 1 if we do the math right, something like that.
Yeah.
So he definitely, and it cost him probably at least probably close to $1,000. You know, had he shot kind of what he's more characteristic of shooting, he may have given away upwards of $1,000 in those holes.
Yeah, and that's not even taking into consideration his bonuses that he'd be getting for the higher finish.
Yeah, and certainly something worth noting. Matt Series' plan was to have 5 players in the finals, and then when it all came down to it, I believe it's funny I don't recall, but I believe it was Nolan and I don't remember. 2 of the guys were tied. It was Greider and maybe Schusterich. I don't recall, but 2 of the guys were tied for that 5th spot. So rather than a playoff or a flip of the coin or anything like that, they put all 6 of them in there. And I know I made a comment on Facebook like, no, we've had enough golf, and someone said, well, then you're in the wrong business if you don't think that's a great card. I love golf and I love the card, but if you have the opportunity to edit down, say 4 people versus 6 people, with the amount of ground that had to be covered during these holes, after the long weekend that we had, that's kind of why I made the comment that, I would have been okay with just 4 people in the finals or 5. I didn't need 6. That's going to be a long edit. So whatever.
That's why you get paid the big bucks.
Or I don't. Moving over to the women, I'll segue over to them. We've all said it. She's been on a tear this year, and it just continues. Paige Pierce entered 7 events and has won 7 events. No?
I don't know. She didn't shoot 1,000 rated round. She slipped.
That's true. All right.
Slacking.
Yeah, that was probably too much karaoke then earlier in the week and not practicing like she should have been. But just dominant play. Shot obviously very well. I mean, both of these courses, not that there's a lot of courses that don't set up for one of the best in the world, but these courses have some length to them, especially the Harry Myers course, so she wasn't losing any ground, off the tee, and then just some, really solid course management after that. And we'll talk about him later. You can see that she shot 30 in the finals. She played the exact same finals that the Open men did, and that only puts her 2 strokes off of Barsby. That has her beating Wysocki by 3. That has her beating Nate Sexton by 1. Wow. And only 2 or 3 strokes off the men. And those finals were long. I mean, they played 6 of the longest or toughest holes, on the course out of the 9 holes that they played. So very impressive. In the finals, only extended her lead by 2 or more to everyone else. So congratulations to Paige. $1,300 for first place and a 7-stroke margin of victory over Katrina. And then just like in the men's side, second to third had a huge gap. Katrina to Dez was 8 strokes, and in the men's side, when you go from Barsby to Schusterich, there were 5 strokes. So between first and third on the men's side was a full 10 strokes between Macbeth and Schusterich. So pretty crazy. Solid payout. Obviously, like you said, more than $10,000 added. Matt Seary did a phenomenal job fundraising and getting so many people involved. And to see a women's field with 16 women, $1,300 for first and $1,000 for second, no one can claim that he did not treat the ladies very well.
I see the birthday girl got in.
Oh yes, she did.
Liz Lopez. She lobbied and lobbied for weeks on here, and she got in.
Well, it was more of a couple of drops. And
sure.
Hey, I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and I'm gonna say that Kale Laviska somehow did not come through on something, and he had to withdraw from the tournament, and that was part of the reason why Liz got in.
Oh, really? So he was registered? I didn't look at the
yeah, he was all slotted to come down, and I don't know if Kale's ever not showed up for something that he's supposed to be at. Like our shows. Twice. So Kale.
So we're going to continue to give him a hard time until he shows up?
No, he's not He's not welcome
He's not
anymore.
welcome?
No, he's had 2 strikes. He's out.
Wow.
Yeah, it's softball rules.
Softball.
Softball rules. None of this Paul Molitor, uncle stuff. 2 strikes, you're out, Kale.
Wow.
Sorry, we don't get enough time for you. But yeah, Liz did get in and got to celebrate. Her birthday was actually Friday, so it was pretty cool that she got to get in to the tournament, and she just slipped out of the cash.
I see that.
Is that a candidate for anything? Well, okay.
No, we're going to leave that up to Dana.
Yeah.
Dana, move on.
All right. So let's wrap things up here with the Masters division. Jonny McRae, it looks like he did make the right decision. He got the victory, $1,200 payday. Finishing second was Donald Ellsworth. J.D. Ramirez in third, Schwebe fourth, and strong payouts for the Masters division too. So Surrey took care of the 40 and over crowd as well. So good work there, Matt. Way to spread that 10K around. Let's go out to.
Well, real quick, there was some
move on, go out
question.
to-
There was a question. I think you had it, and it's a legitimate thing to address. The Masters opted out of playing in their finals. They were scheduled to play in the 9-hole finals.
Sure.
And by the time everyone got in, they said they were tired. They played enough golf. I don't know if they felt like they also kind of maybe felt like there was enough score separation already. McRae had a 6-stroke lead. And so on and so forth, as you just said. And they were actually content with not playing the finals. There was a threat of rain, even though we saw just sprinkles for a few seconds during the finals. And it kind of got pushed back a couple times because they're waiting for people to come in. Yeah. So you'll see the Masters did not play in the finals. They left it as it was. Whereas the Grandmasters, all 5 of them, they went out and battled it.
And that's kind of interesting because if you look at the payout for the Masters, first, Jonny had it locked up, we'll say. But second and third were a stroke away. And then fourth was 2 strokes behind that. And that's a decent chunk of change. That's $400.
Yeah.
$350 to, difference between Donald and JD. So
yeah, and I think Ellsworth was actually leading for some, if not, I guess he was tied for the lead after the first day. So I mean, he was hanging in there playing great golf, and that I just know that's what they were telling me is they decided just to kind of forego the playing in the finals.
That's their right.
Yeah, it was an interesting call and decision on their
think
part.
they should all get DNF'd, and then all the 5 through 8 should get first through 4.
That would be pretty funny.
I bet Yeti would have liked that.
Yeti had said that he was totally fine. He was tired. He was done golfing as well. So it was kind of funny hearing them talk about how they arrived at the conclusion. So I did want to address that in case anyone else wondered.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So safe to move on now?
Yeah, sorry. Thanks. Go ahead.
That's fine. As I was saying, let's go out to beautiful Bend, Oregon, where the annual Disc Go Ball took place. It's a beach here, and this event takes place over 2 days with players only playing 1 round a day. On the ladies' side, we had an absolutely stacked field, and you see this a lot out on the West Coast. There's a ton of great women players out there. You know what? I'm going to run through the list. We had Val Jenkins, Melody Bailey, Molly Barnes, Sally West, Zotron, Jacqueline Halstead, Jessie Westbell, Carrie Coleman, and Miranda Anderson.
Wow.
So pretty good field. A lot of ladies over 900, a lot in the 890s range. And I guess coincidentally, this is the order that they finished in. So Val did hold it down in her current hometown for the victory, and Melody Bailey finished in second place. And you know what? Before I move on to the pro side, I think last week I forgot to give out a big hug, didn't I? I can't remember. Anyways, I'm going to give out the big hug now so I don't forget. I'm going to give it to my homie Zoe, who found herself 1 shot out of cash. So big hug. Go get him next weekend, Zoe. I know you still had the most fun out there and smiled the whole time. You'll get him next time. So big hug.
Nothing like a Dana big hug, that's for sure.
Well, I'm sure she'll take you
That's
up on it
right.
the next time you see her.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe I'll give her a big hug sticker too.
Yeah, you will.
That'd be nice.
Good call.
On the 42-person pro men's side, most of the 1,000-rated Washington and Oregon pros were there in attendance. Scott Withers, who's a recent Prodigy signee, played really solid over 2 rounds, and he beat Nate Doss, who got second place by 4 strokes. And tied for third was Dustin Keegan and John Anderson. Good group of guys right there. Good 4 players that I'd enjoy to play with. But good shooting to Scott and Vale out there. And that's all I have for you for last weekend.
Well, that's a lot. That's plenty,
Yeah.
Dana. That's more than
Thank you.
enough. We want to get rid of you. Just this week, though, right?
No.
You want to get rid of him for more?
No.
We
No,
don't-
we're so glad.
We don't want. Yeah, we're happy to have Dana.
Dana, so you said you hung out. Was there anything else you did this weekend? I mean, you hung out and you were around the Illinois championships. I mean, you said that our pal Jonny had a grand reopening and he moved one door over. What happens when he moves to the other side of the city into a bigger place or something? Then what? Is it going to be a bigger party?
I hope so. I hope he has to move to a bigger place because this new shop is huge.
Oh, wow.
It's-
Awesome.
Compare his old store was it was kind of a closet.
Okay.
It was more of a spare bedroom, but now he's he's got the whole living room, dining room, and kitchen going on.
Awesome.
It's a big old space. Pretty cool.
Sounds like he's going to need a new commercial on SmashBoxxTV's next live broadcast so he can tell everybody about it.
I like to point at you, but then I look at the screen and I should probably Brady Bunch it up. There we go.
Oh,
Dana's
okay.
over
In our
there.
three-way screen. All right, Dana. Well, we appreciate all the updates, buddy. Maybe or maybe not run into you at some point this weekend.
Yeah.
I hear you're going to be in Wisconsin.
You're crossing to the good side of the border.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Coming up to Kenosha to play the Prairie Open on Saturday. I'm pretty excited about that. I've got a new toy showing up in the mail. Not really a toy. I've got you guys have heard me talk about my back issues. I've got a ridge roller from Joe and Zuka, excuse me, showing up Thursday, and I'm going to be out there in Kenosha ridge rolling on Saturday.
How did you pimp up your ridge roller? Because one of the cool things about the ridge roller is you can do all the different colors and bag styles. Did you get something like hot pink or?
And I'm sure you bedazzled it because it's so your speed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be. You're going to have to wait until Saturday to see. So, Johnny, you're going to have to come out of your basement this weekend and come over to Kenosha to find out.
All right.
I'm not even going to mention how much more cost efficient it would have been for you. Is it coming down from Joe, or is this the one you're having modified locally?
This is coming from Joe.
Yeah, I'm not even going to mention how much more cost efficient it would have been to hand it off to someone that's from that area that would meet you in Kenosha this weekend, and you guys could have saved the 30 or 40 or $50. But hey, as you say, you're disc golf rich, so I guess we don't need to worry about that. Good luck to you this weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then on Sunday I'm actually running a C tier in Pontiac, Illinois, the Swinging Bridge Open. Got a lot of people signed up for it already, over 50 people. So if you're planning on playing, please pre-register or show up very early on Sunday. This event has historically filled up, and I expect it to do the same this year. So I'm not going to hold you guys up any longer. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you guys for having me. What's up to Zotron and Barsby?
All right.
All right, buddy. Thanks a lot. We'll see you later.
Thanks, Dana.
Of course, and like you said, Dana coming into Wisconsin, is there a reason that more people come from Illinois up into Wisconsin events than Wisconsin players go down to Illinois? What do you think the reason is for that?
Well, I'd love to say it's because of all the tolls. I don't think that's really it. I don't think people are
tolls or trolls.
Both. Yeah, Illinois is like Wisconsin's basement. The trolls down there. So, I don't know why it is. I mean, we used to go down there quite a bit, but life changes.
Only when we were desperate
but
for a tournament.
Wisconsin has so many events now that I don't think there's the push for it. Not to say, I mean, I think Illinois has just a few less events than us. Not a lot, but just a couple less. So I think there's less of a drive for our players to go down there and play. So,
Tom McManus loves us.
I know. We love Tom.
PDGA 1276, and he's all up in our business in Wisconsin.
He's only got like 1,250
more episodes before
we let him on.
Yeah, we told him once his PDGA number matches our show number, then we're gonna have him on as our featured guest. So Tom, just 1,249 more to go, buddy.
All
love
right.
to have you.
You'll be dominating the senior legend grandmaster, whatever.
All right. So maybe we should try and dial up. I think we should hopefully have him on the line in just a moment. I tested out Gregg Barsby staying with a fellow media friend of disc golf in Seth Harwood, and Seth and I tested everything earlier today. So hopefully everything should work out. We can get Gregg on the line. He said Gregg was out hustling some fools on the course in Texas earlier today. So hopefully he's, as Dana says, getting disc golf rich out there.
Yep.
All right. It sounds like in a second, if he hits the nifty video button on his side, we will have video of Gregg. I think I heard his chuckle. Just waiting on that.
All right.
And bless you.
Yeah, right off the bat.
All right, and welcoming Gregg Barsby to the show. How you doing tonight, buddy?
Good. How are you guys?
We're good.
Doing great.
So you were out hustling fools in Texas. Is that what you're doing today?
No, I just went out to just test my skills. I actually a youngster Chandler tonight took it down. Him and his partner shot 17 under.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, I shot a 16 with my partner, and then there was a 15 out there, and it was pretty good. Dallas has got it going on.
So, and that was perfectly is my first question. I know you've been hanging out there for a few days now. Obviously, you played in the tournament this weekend where you saw some of the courses almost completely blind. But where have you been playing around there? What have you been experiencing? If somebody comes to Dallas and just shows up kind of like you did, what do they need to go check out on the courses or for the courses?
I don't know. There's a lot of them around.
Mm-hmm.
First one I checked out here in DFW was Veterans Park.
Okay.
That's like the old school long course, with like the Scorpions, or the Listman days and all that stuff. I'd say that you gotta hit. I think it's Cedar Hills.
Okay. Yep. Sounds right.
Have you heard of Cedar Hills? Have you guys heard of that?
I have. I thought there was one in North Carolina, but there's probably one in Texas too. Cedar Hill sounds right. I think I've heard of some tournaments being run there.
Wrong. If I botched it, sorry everybody. That place is amazing.
It's actually White Birch Mound.
Yeah.
No.
No.
All right. Where else?
I like that course this weekend, Harry Myers. It's scrappy.
Yeah, so talk a little bit about that. This weekend, obviously, we just had the segment talking about the results and everything from this weekend. You came out shooting incredibly hot that first round. You were maintaining throughout the entire tournament. You said that there's how anyone can keep up with Macbeth is a challenge everyone's trying to figure out. But walk us through your tournament. We're blessed that we have you on, immediately following your solid finish. Talk about it.
Oh, cool. Yeah, first, thanks for having me on, and thank Upper Park Designs and Seth Harwood at Genius Productions for making all this happening, letting me use his computer. This weekend was great. I heard that I would like the course, and I showed up and we did the Smashbox round on Friday, and I played it for the first time. And it's kind of, it's woodsy. It's very NorCal-ish. There's a couple of holes that remind me of some stuff back home, and you got to scrap a little harder out here. If you get in the real trouble, you can't do anything about it. You might as well pitch it out. Like, I was fortunate that first round to avoided some of those spots. I had a fortunate kick there on hole 10 that put me back into the fairway. I still made a great shot under a branch and then over the trees out and around and knocked one down. But still, if it kicks another 2 foot the other way, I'm going to take a 4 for sure. So it's pretty, it's wishy-washy out there. You might get the really bad break and be right in the middle of the crap, or you know, like my first round, I kind of was just on the edge of the stuff, and worked it, made some putts.
Well, and a little spoiler alert, I was filming Big Germ and his card the first round, and on 18th hole, the last hole of the day, he absolutely shanked it. I said on the video, that's going to be rough, because he shanked it, and then I lost it, and then next thing you know, he's throwing from the middle of the fairway, and he was supposed to be all the way down in the left-hand side, and I was like, what happened? Did he take a drop, is actually what I asked his card mates, and they're like, no, it hit the tree and kicked straight back out into the fairway for him. That saved him at least 2 strokes. So you must have been pretty clean for the most part that entire first round, though. I mean, 1082 isn't you know, just a bunch of luck.
No, a little bit helps though. Like I said, I was fortunate on the tougher holes. I didn't throw those very clean. I think I could shoot. I think the best that I could shoot out there on those 3 holes is probably 1 under. I mean, 2 under is really pushing it. That'd be a really big crush on 11, but. I shot even, and that was a really good score, you know, especially I started my round on 8, and I actually hit the basket on 8 and then got through those holes with 3s. And after that, you have another 4 birdies. And so, you know, once I got through, I made an incredible save on 11. I got to say, it was probably one of the best shots of my tournament. I threw the touch Firebird out of the stuff, and then, you know, it hooked up like a Firebird with a Roadrunner. Did I say
Sure.
Firebird? I meant Roadrunner.
No, you said Firebird, but yeah.
It's unreal. You know, I got going after that. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I better just get all these easy birds while I can.
Yeah, you got to stack them up. There's a couple different spots where, you know, you can get on a run of them, and like you're saying, you need to get them and put them like in your back pocket, because they can be given away very easily out there. You moved over to the Autobahn course on Saturday afternoon. Kind of break down that round for you, and what you thought was going on.
Yeah, it seems like every round that I have on camera is just not as good as the rounds that I don't get filmed. I don't know.
Are you? Do you think that's true? I mean, or is it something internally, or don't know?
I think it's a fact right now.
Sure.
That's what happened. I don't think that it's necessarily true. I've played really well with the camera, and to be honest with you, I haven't played with Paul that many times through the last few years. I think we probably only shared maybe 15 rounds, and none of them in a place that I was feeling either, you know, unconfident or not at home. So these last few have been really nice to get into those cards and be able to play with Paul. He's a great champion and an awesome ambassador. So and his skills are fantastic. So it's fun to shoot with him. We have a good time.
Yeah. Autobahn, certainly a very different course, just to break it down for everyone. You know, Harry Myers seems to have a lot more trouble on it. Obviously, par 4s, par 5s, a lot longer play. You know, how do you feel about Autobahn?
So that's like a Southern Californians course comparatively to Harry Myers is more of like the Northern Californian course. So I knew I had my work cut out for me playing Paul out on a course like that. There's a lot of room to work. You know, it's really it's down to execution on a course like that. It's not necessarily who's got the deepest bag of shots or who can really manipulate their stuff. It's really who can get on a run and make a bunch of putts, and you can go really low at Autobahn. I was disappointed with my round. I had a tough time settling down for the first 2 or 3 holes. Felt like I was sucking for air there on holes 2 and 3.
Yep.
It was right in the heat of the day, so. But I calmed down. I settled in, and made a couple good looks, and I still didn't play like a great round after that. But I played solid, and you know I maintained after a slow start.
Yeah. One thing that people are talking about, and is honestly is something that I thought about a lot this weekend. I talked it over with Bobby Music and Steve Rico, who obviously know you pretty well. And your long history of playing and sponsors, you're throwing somewhat of a mixed bag. Talk a little bit about that. And, you know, normally we don't get real deep into like, oh, you know, tell us every disc you're throwing, but you have a mixed bag. You're one of the top players in the world, and that's kind of a rarity to have that mixed bag. Talk about where you're at in that, you know, mindset and, you know, how that's developed.
Well, being that, the sponsor I was working with last year, things didn't work out. Mm-hmm. You know, I had a pretty good look on the inside of the industry, at least the very beginnings of that. So I learned a lot through through my past sponsorships. My first flow was from Gateway when I was like 13, and the Listmans and a couple other guys hooked that up for me, and that was when I was learning from all my boys up there, like the Herms and the Readers and the Griffithses and Mike Loyas, and so I was throwing sabers and crap like that. And then Discraft years, 2003 through 11, I was really stocked with discs. I really had a firm grip of what I was doing with all those discs after that amount of time. So when that ended up going out, I picked up Westside and Legacy, and kind of being that they're newer in the scene, I tried to help them garner some recognition. So just kind of started working with different molds, and at that point I could throw Innova back in the bag, because that's like a very normal thing back home to throw Innova. It's like Innova country. So I was a dark sider for almost a decade.
Sure.
So it's funny, how you go to a different place and certain stuff's in. But I've been working discs in and out of my bag since that, with kind of an open bag policy with both of those brands, because neither of them had a full line at the time, or were building a full line. So they were understanding of me and where I was going. So that was really cool. Nowadays, since I don't have a manufacturer sponsor, I do throw whatever I want, which is great.
Would it be fair to say that it's primarily Innova right now? I mean, I saw a few other molds, but it seemed like the majority is currently Innova. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah. But it's not about Innova.
Sure.
I could throw the shots with a Predator. I could throw the shots with probably that H3. I could work that disc in. My buddy Kale gave me one of those down in Arizona, so that's the first Prodigy disc I've thrown, and it's pretty nice. But I've thrown Eagles since I was coming up before the Discraft days. So like I kind of grew up on the Champion Edition Eagle. Like there's this new plastic coming out. Check it out. It's like different plastic. They're calling it Champion Edition, right? This stuff's crazy.
And it's $15. Do you believe it? I'm not paying $15 for a disc.
Oh yeah.
I remember it's like $13 or something.
Yep.
I'd say that's my one regret, is not taking about the 1800 in script and just throwing it in a box.
Oh God.
I come out with like 20 grand these days or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think everybody that threw plastic at that point thinks the same thing.
Yeah, all the amateurs, myself included, that 99, 2000 era, when those first CE discs were laid out.
It's everywhere. You're like, oh, cool. What is this? Remember they had the ones with the X where they had a little dimple in them or something, and they just had boxes. They're like, oh, these are all X outs.
Yeah. Yeah. And
these things are prime time.
And everybody had to be convinced that it was okay to spend $15 on a disc, or $13.
Yeah, because everyone was so used to, at the time, DX plastic, which was like
$7,
$7, $8, $9, and now, wow.
Yeah,
So.
it is pretty crazy. Is there any clarifications? I mean, a lot of people ask about deity. Obviously you kind of just lightly reference them. Is there any clarifications or anything you need to or want to put out there? I mean, I saw you throwing your Chimera, which seems to be an awesome disc, but is there any clarifications or anything you need to, or rumors you'd like to squash or address, or anything that's out there? And if not, you can just move on, but this is a good place to do it.
I just want to thank the players for anyone that bought the disc. That's awesome, and everyone that bought one for me personally and was into it and checked it out. I want to thank all the guys that we put on the street team that has basically been abandoned, and also all my buddies for throwing it and believing in me. Being behind the decision. It's unfortunate that it didn't work out, but that's the way business goes, and we move forward.
So what I will ask, though, a little more in depth, is you said you saw some of the behind the scenes stuff, and I've had the, we'll say, luxury of seeing some of the behind the scenes stuff at a couple different manufacturers. Can you break down like just how intense it is? I mean, a lot of people are like, it's not so hard. They put some stuff in a thing, and some frisbees pop out. It should be so easy,
plastic.
And it's just plastic. Like, what's been what's your take on the production process for some of these companies? What do you think about it all?
Well, I had a small look at it. I know that molecules bonding together probably isn't like a perfect process. It's like molecular combining and stuff. It's all stuff that's way above my my pay grade.
Yeah.
You see, they could get some engineers in there and stuff, but then it'd be like, air controlled rooms and how they cool and where they cool and in what positions and stuff like that. So all of that comes into play when they're still hot. And we tested out like 40 some different like plastic blends to land on Delta and Alpha, which are both awesome and incredibly durable. Like I've been throwing that Chimera in my bag for like 9 months as soon as it came out.
Yep.
Like whenever it was, like the thing's just, and it's still just truck and it does a nice pull. It's like a souped up Wraith. So if you happen to run by one, I think there was like 7,000 made. If you happen to see a Chimera, I'd highly recommend it. It's a good one.
Well, I guess I'll follow that right up though. Can they be still purchased? Does somebody have them? Do you have a bunch of them? Is that something you have the rights to as a mold? Could that be taken elsewhere? If someone fell in love with that disc, do they just need to go hoard them all, or what needs to happen?
Yeah, I've been trying.
Okay.
No, I think Final Nine Sports in Sacramento has a few still. I think Kale might have a few in his shop. I know he usually does exclusive Prodigy stuff, but since they were made in the cities, he might have a few left. I think maybe Bart Zanstra and discgolfflymart.com might have some. Bart's a great with everybody over there. Indiana guys. It's fun times down there. I think that's the only place I kind of know of them as far as being online. I don't, as far as like a conclusion, I don't really know what the scoop is. As far as I know, they are discontinued at the time.
Okay.
And yeah, that's all. That's basically what I know.
No, fair enough. We're
I wish more because I couldn't wait. Now I'm just grabbing blue ones as I can.
I think I have one somewhere that was handed to me, and I got busy and never got around to throwing it. So it's probably gonna, like the rest of my stuff, get thrown in a hoarder's bin and just set aside forever and ever. So.
Plus, you get one disc, and then you can't if you learn it, it's tough to replace one that you don't have at least a brother for a stack. So any serious golfer is probably not going to be like seeking them out because they're not being made.
Yeah,
sure.
So lots of people, I know lots of people reach out to you. You're obviously charismatic and fun to be around, and a lot of people are probably trying to get you to their tournaments. But what does your tour schedule look like this year? And then the follow up to that right away is, what is it that brings you to a tournament? What are the things that really entice you to go somewhere?
First of all, I'll start with the tour. Right now, I think Texas swing is over. I get on a plane tomorrow morning at 6:05, and I'm headed to Chicago.
Okay.
And my buddy Whiteside's gonna pick me up. Speaking of, I should call him, huh?
Just to remind him, probably a good idea.
Yeah.
By the way, I'll be in Chicago in 9 hours. Yeah. So, gosh, don't even get me started. So my tour is totally hectic and crazy. It's silly, but it's a beautiful thing and it works out. So I'm gonna be playing in the Rumble here in a week and a half down there in the Quad Cities.
Yep.
And then a lot of people have asked me if I'm playing GBO. I'm not.
Okay.
Still never played the Glassbone Open. I can't wait to get out there sometime, but just this year doesn't look like it's going to be the year. It's sad that it's a national tour. I'd love to go and play an NT and get the points for that. I guess that goes into the world rank now. And it didn't last year, and that's why I didn't play the national tour because it didn't go into the world ranks. But then they put it in there at the end of the year. So that was nice to them. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, I'll blame Felberg. He's a numbers guy. He probably made that happen. But anyway,
leave it to Felberg.
That's right.
But okay, so after the Rumble, I'm going back home and I'm going to play, I believe, my home course tournament, the Motherlode.
Yep.
And then I'll be playing at the Masters Cup, St. Jude's. I'm going to be at Beaver State. King of the Lake is on the schedule, although at that point I'll probably be pretty tired. But depending on what my schedule is or where things are at, I'll most likely play it. I might not. But then Boston, and then I'm going to go to Sweden and play up there at the Scandinavian Open, and then go to Finland to play the European Open. And I will be back in the States late July and preparation for Worlds. I'll be there a couple weeks early.
So
I'll be at the World Championship.
when do you find time to drum?
Yeah.
I mean, half the pictures I see are you behind a drum set. Do you keep the drums with you? Are you? And that's quite a lot to pack along as a disc golfer, unless you're swinging solo.
Yeah, I tried that the first year. Didn't work. Even practice pads didn't work. I bring a pair of sticks with me, so if I run into someplace. But I had a friend that worked next to a guitar center, so I got to go jam out on a nice drum kit for a little bit, probably about an hour or so. Felt good.
So if you had, I was gonna say, if you had the choice to make a decent living disc golfing or a decent living drumming, what would you pick? One or the other?
Well, I think the choice is pretty clear. You know, I'd love to pursue drumming and music on another level, but it's a team sport.
Sure.
And music industry, just like disc golf, competitive disc golf getting these days, it's pretty cutthroat, and there's a lot of folks that are at it that are hungry. So I would love to do it, but yeah, I mean, disc golf's just this amazing cool thing, and this kind of alludes to what you were talking about what brings me to tournaments, you know, and it's just the passion for playing disc golf, and you know, I love the culture, and a lot of the people that I meet have turned into some of my best friends in the world, and you know, I couldn't be more grateful to have had disc golf early in my life to kind of teach me the ways, I guess, if you will. Some of the older guys kind of took me under their wing and made sure I didn't act that much of a fool. Or if I did, they pushed me down and laughed.
Well, speaking of that, I think you were in Pennsylvania.
I was.
In the 2005 Worlds. I was at the 2005 Worlds. That was held in Allentown, Pennsylvania.
I was at the 2005 Worlds.
You were there because you were literally just a couple of hotel doors down from us. Maybe it was only one. Were you not with the other youngster in Miles Harding? Does that ring a bell, right?
Yeah, Milo.
Yeah.
Miles.
So you and your boy Miles were just a few doors down from us, and I remember talking to you guys, and I think it'll be fair to say you were a tad rowdier than we were, but maybe I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, that's an accurate assessment.
Okay.
2005, yeah, probably a little rowdier than us.
Dude, Miles and I it's gonna be crazy. Miles is that's my boy.
Yeah.
That's all the way it goes. All my Santa Cruz guys, man, like Miles especially, and you know, there's so many legendary people from Santa Cruz, Tom Schott and Marty, and you know, go on forever.
Yeah.
Torrin and Josh and Dave and all those guys.
So when you're looking at a schedule, or again, someone's reaching out to you, or in Matt Series' case, he's called you 38 days in a row. What brings you to an event though? Like when you're.
I'll tell him to shut up. Keep doing that. I heard you. No. What brings me to an event? The drive to be competitive.
Okay. So do you seek out like?
What's that?
I was just gonna say, do you seek out like, oh, hey, there's Macbeth, I want to go try and beat him this weekend, or do you think, oh, okay, well, there's this course or there's this added cash? Like, what are some of those factors?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's kind of a mix of all three.
Okay.
You know, if I'm planning on being out on the road, then yeah, I'd like to play at some of the bigger events that I can at least make a decent paycheck if I'm playing at a high level. That's important. The tour minimum is probably closer to 600, $550 a week. That was kind of my tour minimum. If I at least made that, I could survive and maybe get my half-life to the next tournament. But as far as going on the road, they've got to be pretty big ones. Part of it is, I got a lot of friends through disc golf. This is kind of like my first social network. It wasn't Facebook or anything like that, and it was people. And people that I've come to love and respect and admire a lot. There's a lot of those folks in this game.
What are some of the course considerations? Longer, shorter, open, not hilly, wooded. Nice manicured, all those types of things. What are some of the course considerations?
Throw it at me. Let's do it. Okay, so
it really and it's kind of funny you had just described Audubon versus. The Rockwell course being kind of NorCal, SoCal, different styles, so to speak. So it really doesn't seem to matter to you what course you're playing on.
No, well,
Do you like par 4, par 5 mentality, as we kind of saw at the Rockwell course? Or, do you feel like playing in a city park is just as fun, if you've got 18 holes under 400 feet?
I don't like playing in the parks when it's like the big tournament and then
Okay.
balls breathing down my neck, and it's not as much fun.
Okay.
My holes seem pretty tight in that tournament. Yeah, I like a good amount of fairness is key, but it's disc golf, so you're gonna see a kick that goes left or to the right, and when you get in the woods, and that's just kind of the breaks of the game. That's just the way things go. You might sneak right through if you're a foot and a half off the line, and you hit the tree. But if you're 2.5 foot off, you slide right past the tree, cruise right up over the pin, no problem. So there's a little more luck involved to try to keep those courses to a minimum. But then again, we don't have a basket that's standardized in our sport. So, I mean, you're really running the gamut as far as just any and all. I mean, we play on all sorts of different types of terrain, from grass to dirt with roots. I mean, gravel, concrete, AstroTurf. So I kind of just expect the unexpected at this point, so it doesn't really matter to me. Like,
Okay.
throw it at me. Let's go. Let's play some disc.
Well, and it's funny because you and I had I don't know if it was a heated debate. We had a healthy conversation on the phone a couple of years ago, talking
Had a
about
few though.
talking about tour standards, talking about consistencies. What are some of the things that you feel like should be addressed the most? Whether it be rules, or whether it be standards for tournaments or baskets. I mean, that's always a great topic. We talked about Cam Todd's baskets and what he's trying to do with that. Yep. Is there anything in particular that comes out, or comes to mind when you start thinking about, like, if I could address and fix or address one particular thing, what might that be?
Well, it would be to really set like something in motion, because I probably couldn't do any of it myself, and I want to make it really clear that I'm not going to bicker about how the tour standards aren't there, or how the courses weren't ready, or a multitude of different you can go on. I think that being a player, I'm personally at bay to who's hosting the event, how their club represents themselves, and how they want to have their course, displayed, and how they want to have their hometown displayed. So I think that that's kind of important.
Okay.
I kind of lost my train of thought for just a split second.
It's all right.
Well, I was just asking about, like, is there maybe it's a pet peeve, maybe it's a major peeve, but I was just trying to think, anything that you feel like, wow, if tomorrow I could wake up and this was fixed or addressed within our sport, if there was any one thing. I mean, and this kind of piggytails on a conversation that you brought up.
baskets, consistency, things like that.
Okay, well, there are a couple. If I could wake up tomorrow.
Okay.
The PDGA, there's not that many people that run the PDGA, and I completely understand that. And they do a fantastic job for what they handle and what they cover. I think they do a whole lot. But if there's no separation from a C tier to like an A tier or a national tour. So getting a standard, like a crew to standardize the courses, maybe it's 4 guys, and maybe it's some of the tour guys. If I could wake up tomorrow, there'd be a union for the players, so we could be unified instead of having these companies divide us. I think that things could be a lot better with that, and then we could also play on a standard basket. Okay. That way you can get used to putting in a certain style and a certain way. A lot of guys, bitch about spit outs here and there, but maybe their putt's too hard for that basket, or maybe
for sure.
With a new Mach X, when you putt it real soft and it kind of just doesn't get all the way in, it doesn't get over the rim, So being versatile and being able to kind of just grab a disc and know that, hey, this one will catch a real hard one, or better be soft on this basket. Those are things that actually come into play in tournaments and in big tournaments. So having a basket for sure, and having at least a unified kind of production crew that's like, hey, are your courses ready to go for Paul Macbeth and Simon Lazar from Germany, and KJ Naibo's flying over. I mean, is this stuff going to be prepared for these guys to compete at their best and at their highest level and be able to have a fighting chance to win the event? those kind of stuff. Like, not like, oh man, hole 6 and 8 are just ridiculous.
Sure.
And there's just no way to get through it. And if you go to the right, there's snakes. And like, definitely, just different crazy stuff that goes on.
And you go left, and there's an oil slick. It's like Pitfall. You guys are playing
Really?
and quicksand. So I'll put. I don't think it's really putting you on the spot, but you just mentioned baskets. So I think a logical question that people would love to hear is, what is your favorite basket to putt on? Like you personally.
Anyone that sticks.
That's a cop out.
Yeah, it's a
What's your
cop
favorite?
out.
Hey, that's not a cop. No.
I mean, you mentioned a Mach X. There's been Mach, a lot of Mach 3s, and there's a lot of Innova chain stars, or there's a lot of Discraft chain stars out there. Innova disc catchers. Dynamic Disc just released a new basket. Prodigy's got a new basket, but out of all the baskets you've putted on,
Okay. Man, that's a really tough one. It's tough to put my name on like a favorite basket. I think the Chain Star caught a bunch of my putts at the Players Cup the first year, and I was just really fond of it for a long time. And I'm just like, man, it thing just caught my disc from so far away, and it just keeps catching it. It's just, this thing's huge.
So you might be a little skewed in that response, but that makes sense.
No,
I mean,
I like the Mach 3 because that's my home course, Condon Park.
okay.
And I got the whole GVPV crew. They go hard and they move all those baskets, as I have a few times before. So I like the Mach 3s. That's kind of what I learned on, and I'm a little impartial to them, although they have the Hedrick hole. They're still one of my favorite baskets to putt on, and it's just kind of, I don't know, it used to signify what disc golf looked like to me, that basket. Because that's, when I found the Cyclone and the guy pointed up the hill, and that's what I saw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that makes perfect sense. And in a lot of ways, I can relate to that.
Yeah, we had Mach 3s all throughout Wisconsin for a long time.
Yeah, that was definitely a primary basket, and so I know exactly what you're saying.
Totally. Yeah, I think that's as far as like the touring and stuff. It'd be cool if if we were a little more together. You see a lot of, how do you say, conflict of interest with a lot of like either the tournament directors or the regional directors, which also might be tournament directors. Big no.
Yeah.
He's a director for the regional tournaments, but then he's hosting tournaments. So what happens is he'll get his weekend every time, and there's just like no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Sure.
It's his weekend, and he's had it for years, and he doesn't want to give up his weekend. My God.
Yeah. Or I mean, I'm a state coordinator. I've dealt with people telling me, "Oh, I can't have I can't have this weekend. I can't have that weekend. I got a conflict." But then they go and sign up for another tournament and play in that on the same weekend, and that didn't really make sense to me. But yeah, there's certainly some of that goes on. No doubt about it.
Honestly, I had no idea. No disrespect to you.
No, I don't care. No, you're not. Heck, this year, ironically, and it's funny you say that. And I'll put this right out there. This year, I run a ton of tournaments, typically anywhere from 6 to 8 to 10 or 15 between sanctioned and non. This year, I had every last worst possible date because I didn't know where I was going to be in terms of doing coverage. I kind of reserved a whole bunch of weekends knowing I was going to be flying to Texas or going here or going there. And so at that point, rather than having any traditional weekends, I kind of gave away all of my, so to speak, traditional weekends, and lots of other people took them. And I got, kind of what was left over. So I would like to think I was the exact opposite of what you're saying, but I can understand how that conflict can happen. And absolutely.
That's what I'm talking about, with people at least. And I say people, but, the individuals that are hosting these events and stuff to, like, for example, Houston got Texas State's. Austin didn't get it.
Sure.
I guess that there might be a little feud there or whatever. I don't know any details.
Sure.
And frankly, it's all good. But a lot of the Austin guys didn't come, and they're people that are really passionate about disc golf. Bottom line, didn't come.
Sure.
To the Texas State Championship, and they were short-staffed, and they did a fantastic job of pulling that event off and running it. I mean, really. So seeing people kind of like bickering back and forth, and well, I don't like you. You got this tournament, and well, screw you. And I'm not. Me and all my people aren't coming to your tournament. And I feel like if we all kind of came together and were, if we focused our efforts on a few more big events, like imagine if a region, yeah, you still have all your small ones, but then all of your different people in your region come together for your big showcase event for your year, and then you have all your guys from out of your region and other states, and possibly some of the big guys that come out. And with more events happening that are bigger, sometimes you see the top talent split weekends between 2 and 3 venues, just depending,
Well, and I'll follow that up. Ray Oberle Jr. from Minnesota had made a comment. I remember I was traveling to Texas, and he had made a comment online about what's killing us. He's like, oh, they should get rid of all these other thousands of tiny little tournaments and just have 10 to 12 really big tournaments every year. That will grow the sport. And I vehemently disagree with that mentality. I mean, to what you're saying, I agree that, of course, for a number of big events, people should be, kind of getting together and making this collaborative effort. But, if the PDGA is going to sanction, we'll just say 2,000 events this year, to really think that you're going to go down and sanction 10 or 12 or have 10 big events and get rid of hundreds or thousands of others is somehow going to grow the sport, I think is crazy. But
that's a little wild.
I saw,
but, I understand. Like, I think maybe, in an idealistic way, to see like some sort of competitive league come into play, where, because like I said, like there's no difference between a C tier and like, come on, dude, the Worlds at Lemon Lake. Don't tell me any other way that you cut the fairway the day before the tournament.
Sure.
I mean, that's I don't know who, doesn't matter. But the realities of it are we aren't playing on a different venue or an approved venue for some of these large events. Like could be the same tournament I played the C tier on, but it's like for the World Championship. So to see like kind of an evolution of the courses that the guys are playing now with all these fast discs and what they can really do, I mean, it's pretty unbelievable. You watch as much disc golf as anybody, Terry. Like you see what some of and you see all the players and all the different styles of throwing. So it's cool and creative, and to kind of see an upper echelon like league kind of rise would be badass. I know I'd like to see that. But there's certain steps that would have to take place. But I think that's what maybe he's alluding to was, like a big tournament or ones that are more promoted than the national tour. And I will say this, don't say you're going to promote the top players in the world and don't do it, because that's not what's happening right now.
Okay.
If you go on PDGA and you go on the national tour, they say that, to promote or something. I can't remember the exact quote. But don't say you're going to do something and don't do it.
Fair enough.
That's to the PDGA. If you're going to promote the players, help us promote the tournaments. But there's more stuff. It's not the Professional Disc Golf Association. That's they do so much. And they've built the game. Like there's so many tournaments. Steve Gans works his butt off. I know Downsy works his butt off. Big Dog works his butt off. Mm-hmm. Marty works his butt off. I mean, I know all these guys. So, my hat goes off to every single one of them. But there's still steps to take. We're still a young game. And we're kind of blossoming into a sport at this point. So I think that stuff could start to happen. I don't know if it'll be manufacturers that push it there. I don't know if it'll be, another organization that pushes it there. I haven't heard of one. I don't know if it'll be the players, companies that are pushing it there. Nico's got Fly Life, Kale's got Airborne. Mm-hmm. There's a few other players that are pushing stuff and pushing their brands and pushing their events. Steve Dodge, with Vibram. I mean, he does a fantastic event up there every year. So there are people that do these sick events and have they bring that culture together, and really what makes disc golf thrive and awesome. And that's what it's about, is when people are coming together for the common bond, of having a good time and throwing some plastic.
Yeah, and DG Mike is on the board, our boy Mike, and he had said exactly what I was just about to say. What's it going to take to get some outside sponsorship? I mean, lots of times you guys are playing for each other's money, and then on top of it, there's some money that's been kicked in from the manufacturers within the sport. How are we going to get these outside sponsors?
Well, get guys with long hair like me off your podcast. Start promoting.
All right, it's been a good night. Click.
start getting some young bucks like this kid Chandler I play with just out there who shredded. Well, I didn't play with him. I watched him throw a few, and it was cool. We chatted after, and he was super stoked. There's I think honest to goodness, I think that it'll be somebody that that loves the game or has a passion for it, but then also maybe their son or somebody has a real passion for it, and they can kind of take it and maybe make something help certain things that are out there kind of evolve into certain things. UC's going hard in the paint right now. I don't know what he's doing. He's probably not playing.
Yeah, no,
Right.
we have that as something else we're going to talk about a little later in the show, and you're exactly right. He's one of those guys, though, that is saying, all right, I don't got time to play like I know I can or want to, and, I've got some bigger projects on the horizon, and I think everybody's excited to see that.
And congrats to him on an awesome career. He's a great player, and he's a great promoter, so I look forward to playing more of his events, and hopefully abroad as well as in the U.S., because I think he's an awesome component to disc golf, and he's been intrinsic in helping disc golf grow in Europe.
Yeah. So the last question before we wrap things up would be, what are you most looking forward to when it comes to your overseas travels? Have you traveled overseas before to play, and all of that? What are you looking forward to, as this year?
I'm looking forward to a win.
Okay.
Other than that, another great time. I think I might try to fly to Stockholm and drive through Sweden. So if that's the case, then that would be really cool and an awesome experience to kind of go. And I guess 8 hours is a long drive to those people.
Wow. And for you, that's like an afternoon in LA traffic.
Well, yeah, I mean Europe is so small. Most of the time they don't drive that distance. They'll take a train or public transportation. So, it's a whole different culture. That's for sure.
It is. Yeah, it's a trip. So I was thinking about maybe doing that. Climo told me about these cliffs or something, some falls that he and Brinster and Leslie saw sometime. That'll be really cool. And then I've never been to Finland, home of Children of Bodom and Winter Sun. Both blow the doors off of any your favorite metal bands, especially Winter Sun. But I'm super hyped. I'd like to see a show this time. I missed Misery Index by like a day, and I was pissed. They're playing in Sweden, and they're like one of my favorite American bands, like for sure. So maybe catch a show.
Go to one of their festivals. I know they're pretty crazy festivals over there. So
I don't know if I want to get that.
I'm just saying. I know they seem to have a festival every month out there. So it's somewhere in Europe.
They go to Vach, and I'm looking forward to seeing some of my friends that'll be lifelong friends for sure. Brigida put me up last time, and my buddy Eric and the Duck and all sort of players, and Henrik, and just hanging out and really enjoying another country. It's a really cool thing to be able to do and go play disc golf and possibly have the chance to pay for the trip.
Yeah, exactly. If you play really well,
it's definitely pricey, and without a sponsor, I've been hustling up my entry fee funds, and I got a shout out to every single person that's picked up a tag from me or bought a shirt from me this year or discs through the years. You guys have kept me going up until this point, so it really means a lot. I got the rest of the year dialed in. We're going deep.
Well, it's a good final thing to say. Where can people reach you if they want to buy something from you or support you? Where can they get a hold of you
or steal all your
I
Eagles?
don't know where I'm going to be tomorrow. I think I'm going to be at Wrigley Field. Whiteside's got Cubs tickets, so catch me at Wrigley. I don't know, be pregame someplace.
All right, how about a social media opportunity? How about that way, rather than coming to find you in Chicago?
I'm just kidding. But we really are going to Wrigley. That's not true.
That's awesome.
I don't have any. I don't have a website that's online for any sort of merchandise. So really, it's just running into me right now. Everything's kind of growing and building still. I'm excited for this year. I've still got some steps to take and kind of grow as far as just the whole idea of Barsby Empire and I have some bag tags. So if I see you, I have bag tags. I might have a shirt or two, but I doubt it. Probably more of the bag tags. And then that's really just my sponsor this year, the players. So kudos.
That's awesome. And my patented parting shots, the last thing we get to have you do and say is any sponsors or any other people you want to recognize before we let you go.
Yeah, well, Seth for giving me the opportunity to use his dining room. That's awesome. Skeet for doing the artwork on my bag tags, and Jim McLean at Jimbo's Disc Golf Print. Come on, right here.
Right there, Upper Park.
Right.
Those guys, right out of Chico, John and Hobie are great, so I want to give a big shout out to them. Thanks so much. And my family, my friends. I was going to say something important. Obviously, it wasn't too important, but my buddies down in San Ho, and Jeff Nyerges and Dale Gatlin and Nikki and the San Fran guys and Sean Jack. I think I might be able to come back, and I'm winning San Francisco this year. I got 4 seconds in a row. I'm telling you, if I get there, I'm winning it this year.
That's Anthon status right there.
Yeah, the 4 seconds.
Runner up.
Yeah.
Come on, buddy.
Yeah, hey, I won it when I was in high school. Give me a break. 2 times in a row. I don't really know. I'm gonna go and pack.
Okay.
Do I have anyone else to thank? I have a zillion people to thank, Terry. It's like my mom and dad who've been behind me since day one. My sister out in Maui, I love you. All my friends in Chico, especially the guys at Upper Park, Dale, and all the guys that have been behind me for like a long, long time. Not just with their bodies, but buying a piece of plastic for me. Even if they're not going to throw it, they're going to give it to somebody else, to help see me down the road. And it's a beautiful little transition taking place here. So the next 2 or 3 years are going to be really fun.
Awesome.
All right, buddy. Well, we appreciate you joining us on the show. Thank you for the enjoyable disc golf that I got to watch this weekend and record. I'm slowly getting that all processed and put up. And thanks for joining us on Friday for the exhibition match that I also have to edit and get posted. And, it was great. We had you lined up before this weekend anyway. We already knew we were going to have you on the show, and it just worked out really well to have you immediately following your solid performance. So thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you guys. And, I appreciate that you guys are pushing disc golf and putting it out there in the media for everybody. Anyone that's watching this right now can catch me on, I have an Instagram account, 2 Facebooks.
Yeah,
One
you
of
do.
them's active. I don't have an athlete page. Sorry, Holly. We'll get to that in a couple weeks.
Working on it, buddy.
You've got a Twitter. I know you've got Twitter.
I have a Twitter. You can tweet me, you can tumble me, you can Instagram me, you can Facebook me.
Yep.
We might even get some face-to-face time. So
There you go. You can
thank you guys again, and appreciate you.
All right, pal. Have a great night. Travel safely tomorrow. Enjoy your time in Chicago.
Will do.
All right, take care. See ya.
See you, Wisco.
All right, and there you have it. The always entertaining and fun and lighthearted Gregg Barsby. I'm going to say it right now. I didn't even bring it up with him, and I know you and I have talked about it, and I've talked about it with dozens of people. Gregg clearly had done the Ken Climo impersonation years ago, and there was a few mentions on the board of it, and the infamous, or famous, I should say, Iron Leaf. And I've kind of made it a personal goal to never bring it up with him.
No.
It was humorous. I enjoyed it. And it's still funny, especially if you know Ken and you know the whole situation. But it's kind of one of those things that I've even gotten the vibe from him that it was a funny thing in his life, and he obviously got a lot of notoriety for it. But it's kind of like, there's more to Gregg.
Clearly his play.
Yes.
I mean,
than just that impersonation. So me as the disc golf guy. And even on our podcast, you'll probably never see it referenced in any other way outside
It's
of
out
that.
there for everyone to watch forever.
You can
There's no
consume
reason. There's no reason for him to do it again.
Yeah.
It'll probably never be as funny as the first time he did it.
Well,
So,
and I think it's one of those
what's the-
things,
what's the
everywhere he goes, everyone wants it.
Yeah.
And I think that even kind of grinds on him from what I've gathered in our conversation. So
I'm just gonna start bothering Climo to do Barsby impressions.
I think, honestly,
I
sadly,
think he's done one.
I
I'm
think
pretty
so.
sure. So
Yeah, I think that is pretty funny.
But
Yes, his roller ace. That thought did come to my mind
I
as
forgot
one of
about
the
that.
greatest aces ever talked about. I thought about that as well because I remember somebody describing it, and then I remember going to the 2011 Worlds and then seeing the hole for the first time, thinking, oh my God, he aced this hole.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, another very memorable thing. Gregg's got a lot of memorable moments out there, though.
He does.
Be hard to put them all into one spot. So without further ado, another West Coaster. We're going to have Zoe AnDyke with Dear Disc Golf, I Love You.
Hi, Zoe. How are you doing?
Zoe, where's your intro music or your introduction? Come on, don't
Yeah,
you have a
we're-
whole crew for that?
We're waiting for your media people to get back to us, to our media people, to work this out. And
our media people is us.
Yeah.
Right. We're gonna work this out.
All right. Well, good to see you again. We see you're in the same spot as last week.
Kind of strange.
Yeah. Wow. This is the first repeat location. I'm in Bend, Oregon. Still. I'm at one of my best friend's house, Whitney Castleman, and yeah, Bend has been great. You guys heard from Dana earlier about the disco ball. What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say I only know that you left that room in the last week because Dana told us you were at the disco ball. So otherwise, I thought you might have been just like locked up in that room preparing for this week's segment. So, well, let's get to it. What do you got for us, and how can you enlighten everyone?
Oh, awesome. It's kind of cool how conversation went with everybody tonight. We talked a lot about tournament directing, and Barsby got to talk a lot about what his favorite specs are and what he expects is, or thinks that a lot of pros expect. And I think that kind of plays in perfectly to what my segment is tonight. I decided after I ran that fundraiser event, I mentioned April Fool's Doubles a couple weeks ago. I just, I've been thinking about it a lot, just all the different things that could be better or more improved on, or like what was really great about it, doing all the aftermath and reflection. And I felt like it would be really cool to get a hold of some of my favorite tournament directors and ask them all the same set of questions, and then kind of compare it to some of the things you have to say. You run so many events, and I think tonight's segment special, I want to name off a couple people that I didn't have a chance to make contact with, and number one on that list is Steve Dodge that runs the Maple Hill Open, connected with Vibram. And Steve Dodge, hands down, has so many elements to his tournament. He's got the fun, he's got the side games, he's got an insane amount of spotters and a team that helps him run the event. He's got every base covered so that by the time the tournament happens, it's like a car that drives itself, if you will. And that's like, I would say there's nobody out there that has a thing to say that would be negative about Steve's tournaments. They are just, he's got fruit on the course, he's got water, there's porta potties, and that course is huge. I speak for every FPO, every FA1, every female on the course spectating. Porta potties or bathrooms have to be had. So there's one thing, TDs, that we just need to cover right away is porta potties for all, genders, but mostly your women. And then water on the course. And then I would say like the extra step to that is the fruit or the snacks. Sometimes granola bars or candy. I don't, if you like candy. But I definitely I went to Costco and I got a huge box of bananas and those little cuties, oranges, and a couple other things for my event. And at events like that have those things to offer, I think those are really nice amenities.
Yeah, I think if you have a really big course, putting it on the opposite side of the course, and even putting a little donation bin is really nice, so players can drop $1 or 50 cents or whatever they have in their bag. That's always worth.
Right.
Oh, you said you got cuties. I thought you meant you brought Jonny V and I to the course. Never mind. I was confused.
Well, that too.
No, let me. I do want to.
We'd have our own booth.
Yeah, there's been too many of those. I do want to just real quickly touch on the subject. You talked about the women primarily needing the bathrooms and the restrooms. And not that this is perfect, but I will say if you're short on restrooms or you don't have a ton of porta potties and you can't scatter them throughout the course, one thing I've done throughout the years is I attempt to start the women in a spot so that maybe halfway through the round, that's when they're getting to the holes that have the bathrooms or the bathrooms are closest to them. So again, I know it's not perfect and you wish you could have a bathroom on it literally every other hole, but I do consciously think, okay, if I start the women on, say, 9, and I know the bathrooms are back at 1, at least halfway through their round, that's when they're going to get to a bathroom. So that's one way kind of a little trick that you can, if it works out with all the other, placement of people, that's one way you can kind of help them out. So they're not leaving on one hole and then not seeing a bathroom for 3 hours. Anyway, go on.
Well, and I want you to please, intervene or interrupt. Sometimes I don't take a long enough breath. I'm aware of that. Because it is important. That was really good advice right there. And, some of the things I'm going to share from these tournament directors that I was able to get a hold of, I think is great advice or great mentoring. And seriously, TDs, if you don't have the facilities, that's brilliant, Terry. Like, try to start the women where they can make good use of it. I know it's nice to have ladies on like hole 1 or hole 18 or, whatever it is that's close, but that's a great thing to think about. So thank you. So Steve Dodge, I got to make mention of because I think his tournament is so great. Bringing it all the way home into just this last weekend, Ryan Lane, he's Central Oregon disc golf. And I think I've been to the most of his tournaments, in my whole disc golf career, from AM days to everything recently. I've been to like the most Ryan Lane events, and again, he's covering a lot of bases. I feel like every time he's attacked with something that he doesn't know how to answer, he definitely like considers all things, and if he doesn't have the right answer, he realizes he's the tournament director, picks the most fair thing, and flies through the situation smoothly. And I'm going to get back to that later with something Jeff Haggerty left me with, because I think tournament directors will have situations that no one can plan for a lot. And, that's the judge right there in the court case. That's the guy with all the power. He has to make a good decision that's fair. So we can all definitely, I think, try to put ourselves in the shoes of the TD sometimes. And I might say that a few times through this segment, because those are really big responsibilities. But yeah, okay. So Ryan Lane here at Central Oregon did a great job. I didn't get to gather statements because he was so busy running the disco ball this weekend. And I picked my top 5. So now we get to talk about the 3 guys that I did get in touch with. And I'm going to start with TJ Goodwin. And he runs the Masters Cup, which everybody loves going to Santa Cruz. Who doesn't love going to Santa Cruz? In fact, all 3 of these tournament directors are pretty much West Coast, which is where I'm from. And I had a chance to talk to TJ because he had a little trouble, I think opening up that FPO division early. He got that corrected, got a bunch of spots opened up. There's a lot of pressure there to start with. Felt like it was just kind of a rough time for him to be doing his last year with this tournament. And he's done it for, I think he said 8 years, might be 9 years this year. He's been doing it for a while. And for this to be his last year, he's not even living in Santa Cruz. He's living in Seattle, trying to relocate to Portland. This guy is doing so much. So with that being said, I want to enter right into the 3 questions that I asked TJ Goodwin, Jeff Haggerty, and Brian Beardham from Montana. He runs the Zootown Open, for those of you that don't know Brian. So we've got Montana, Oregon, the Beaver State Fling with Oregon and Jeff Haggerty, and then TJ Goodwin with Masters Cup. And I started with, theoretically, after the course is set up, the cards are set up, you're ready for your players meeting and the tournament to begin. So we're already to that point in the tournament. What is the most important thing to you? Do you want to answer that one first, Terry? Or do you want me to tell their answers first?
I'll say from a personal experience, as a TD, all those things are set. You just said,
everything's ready. The car is ready to drive. So now what's the most important thing?
Well, generically speaking, you'd say the player satisfaction. And to arrive at that, though, I would say being efficient, being absolutely as efficient in every possible way that I can, which will then ultimately should result in their happiness. Me getting the scores up, nearly instantly. People love seeing that. being on time. When you say you're going to start at 9 o'clock, you start and you're calling people in at 8:59 so you can start your 9 o'clock meeting. Putting the people on the right holes. Another huge tip that I'll give every TD out there right now is put the people who are going to struggle the most, or the most, we'll say the lowest rated players, I guess is the best way to put that. Put your lowest rated players on all of the easy holes first, because they're going to play through those at a decent pace, hopefully. And by the time they get to the longer, tougher holes, there may be backups. But if you start them on the tough holes, you're going to have instant backups. So start the better players or the best players on what would be the tougher holes. And it will, nothing's perfect, but that's going to help you as well. So doing all those little things, being on time, being efficient, turning around your scores quickly, getting them online quickly is a bonus too, and then have a players meeting and a award ceremony as quickly as possible. I'm not a fan of the raffles. I know raffles can buy you time, but raffles can also piss a lot of people off because they're taking forever. There's certain events that I refuse to even attend right now because they're notorious for having an hour-long raffle.
And we've said it before. If you're going to do an hour-long raffle, do it after the awards.
Do it after everyone,
because
then they can choose if they want to stick around.
I may not be in the raffle, and I want to get. Well, I probably didn't cash, but if I did cash, I'd want that money and leave.
It's
so, yeah.
Doing all of those things to me are the things that make me an efficient TD. Yeah. Maybe a little brass, or try and keep things moving, or when. And I'll give another good tip. You're gonna get me going here, Zoe.
Oh, geez,
here's
Zoe.
another tip, though.
This
honestly,
is perfect because.
I sound like a big jerk when somebody comes up to me and says, well, what time's the players meeting and what tee are we playing on hole 9? And they ask me 9 questions, or I get 9 different people with 9 different questions. And most frequently I say to them, check your caddy guide. And here's why. Not because I'm a jerk or because I don't have time for them, because I don't want to possibly conflict with something that's in the caddy guide, because it may say play the long tee on hole 9. And what if I slip up and I assume you're playing open, but really this weekend you're playing Masters, and I forgot that, and then you go and play the long tee and you were supposed to play the short tee. Like, those are the types of things. That's why I always say check the caddy guide. You want to know what time we're teeing off this morning? Check your caddy guide, because if I tell you anything that's not right or that contradicts the caddy guide, then now you have a reason to be mad at me because it didn't match up. But yet 30 seconds earlier I handed you a caddy guide with all of those answers in it. So
right. And I think to go with the caddy book, every tee sign should be a super priority. It has to be on the top of the priority list with your course setup. Every tee sign should match what every bit of your caddy book course description says. I mean, they should be like kind of molds made off of each other. You basically blow up the print for the tee sign from the caddy book.
Which can be really tough, because this weekend at Matt Series event, for instance, hole 9 is listed, hole 9 at Rockwell, which is a beautiful course with beautiful tee signs. It's listed as a par 4, and some people thought it was really a par 3, and so on and so forth. So it can get, and pars are one thing that are easily addressed, don't get me wrong, because ultimately you write down the right score. But if Joe Schmo's park department goes out and makes your tee signs, and they call a 300-footer a par 5, and they don't call but they're not calling the sidewalk on the left OB, but clearly it should be. I'm just saying that's where a conflict can happen, Zoe. That's exactly what you're saying, I think. Yeah. And and that can be really tough. So yes, you need to address that. And I'll kind of politely pick on Matt a little bit. Siri, he had told us when we played with him that one body of water was casual, but his caddy book, which was printed earlier, said that it was an OB water. And right there, you're setting yourself up for a little bit of challenge, because there was contradicting. So when you talked about being fair and coming to a TD as the judge, that can be really tough, because TDs are also human and they also can make a mistake. So you may have listed water OB in one spot but casual in another, and now you've got a real conflict on your hand. So anyway, go on.
Well, let's take right off of that with something that is the answer, to the first question. And I would say to all of you tournament directors, if you're trying to do it on your own, wow, go ahead and do the pat on the back thing. But now go ahead and relieve yourself of the pressure and create a team. Give yourself the course guy. Give yourself the rules, all the players, all the questions, like extras guy. And then give yourself time to be at the board and do the math and the payouts, if not having a team for that. So I would say encouraging tournament directors to make a crew and a team. And with that, I'm going to get into TJ Goodwin's answer to what's most important after it's all set up and it's time to start and go. And he said, quote unquote, hands down, the player payout and player experience.
Wow.
Am to pro across the board. It's the player payout matching the player experience.
Oh, matching. Okay.
Well, I mean, no, it's the same thing. The player payout needs to be just as amazing as the experience he's trying to provide. So he's striving for a great payout, I think it sounds like. And he's really doing so much with a course that creates a huge challenge. I don't know how many of you viewers or how many people know what Santa Cruz and De La Vega is set up like, but TJ pointed out that one, there's no parking. Okay. There's like
correct
10, 20 spots for a couple of VIPs that are helping. No players. You have to have a shuttle. So not only do we have to have volunteers now at the beginning and the end, we need the driver. Not to mention the 10 or 12 or 15 people that are going to be on the course, spotting discs, spotting OBs, spotting blind shots. Okay. So now we're up to a team of like 15 people. And TJ doesn't have Wi-Fi out there. He doesn't have electricity, like all kinds of things have to be ran, generators brought out. All these things are things that he's thinking about the day the tournament ends for next year so that he can provide the best experience for the players. He doesn't want to skip a beat. He doesn't want anybody on his team of volunteers or tournament directors. Because, I mean, TJ was the first one to say he's not doing everything as the director. He's got at least 5 behind the desk and then another 10 to 15 volunteers. That's an insane amount. And I would venture to say Maple Hill Open has, volunteers near that number.
More.
Yeah.
20.
It's amazing.
30, 40,
yeah,
50 people.
Yeah, it's in the 24 range.
And then you've got the daisy chains gals that are running the lunch and the food and taking care of everybody's water and, health, brownies on the course, all that. And so, yeah, TJ's thing was payout and player experience. And then his favorite, I'm going to go to Brian's first and foremost important thing. And Brian is up in Montana running the Zootown Open. It's a B tier this year. And I believe it's the weekend before Beaver State Fling.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
You say yes,
so
like
Brian
you know.
said, last night he says, with 3 stars and a bunch of asterisks and an A+ next to this statement, it's so important that Montana's hospitality and the quality of the players' packs and players' payout match the players' experience. So he's like same answer, yet it's so important for the Montana hospitality and the way they do things a little different in Montana to be a special spin on his tournament. So and we're gonna get back to another special belief about Montana disc golfers in one of the next questions, but I thought that was kind of special and kind of cute. Also, these guys are saying the same top priority, after your basic logistics are done, what's the most important? And they're worried first and foremost about the player's experience with their payout. That's pretty awesome. And so is Terry. Okay, then we have Jeff Haggerty. And my notes are kind of scattered. Let me get to where his is, right here. Word for word. Jeff, what's most important to you? What's the most important thing? He says, exceeding your promises that you've laid out. And then he was quiet, and then he said, the player's experience and the player's payout. He wants to exceed his promises, again, this is across the board. Some of the best tournament directors and Terry telling the country, the world, everybody watching, that the player's experience and the payout are both in the same amount of importance and should be taken very seriously. So in each job that you assign, each team member that you get, or if you try to do the whole dang thing yourself, make sure that those are on the top of each list of your priorities. Okay. I don't know how else to say that. Maybe you're not a list maker. You just need to remember, write it on your bathroom mirror: players, experience, and payout. Okay. Second question for everybody was, either give me your top 1 to 3 favorite things about your tournament, or something special that goes on, because I think we have a lot of players that are watching and or flocking to these tournaments coming up, especially Beaver State and Masters Cup. And TJ, that runs the Masters Cup, had a chance to tell me again about the lifetime achievement trophy that happens at the Masters Cup, and it's called the Steady Ed Memorial Trophy. It's pretty special. They give one out every year to a player that can be from anywhere in the world, or a group of players that is selfless in the game, showing the most leadership, paying the most dues, maybe playing some of the best golf, but not necessarily, but being one of the biggest ambassadors of the sports. And I also just wanted to share with you the last few winners so that people kind of understand how big of a deal this trophy is, and then they can maybe research the players or the people that I'm talking about to see what they're doing for the sport. And then think about your tournament at home that you're running, and how special if you can start some kind of an award that people are working towards, and that's going to make your tournament just a little bit more special, to work towards doing something all year long for the sport. So I think that's motivating. And 2014's winner was Merle. He's a coach down in Monterey Bay. He's a college coach. He also teaches classes, disc golf classes. He's a player. He's a champion. He's a great guy. He'll talk your ear off about anything you want to talk about. He's a good guy, and he won that award in 2014. 2013 was Charlie Mead. He's a British guy. Look Charlie Mead up. I don't know how many of you out there actually know who he is. So take my challenge and look him up. Great guy. A lot of good things going on in his disc golf world. Okay, and then in 2012, the Jenkins family
I was going to say it.
Oh, of course they did. I think they could win it every year, actually. But we have to let other people win, too. Hands down, every one of those family members are doing great things all the time. Check out Val's site. Check out each individual member. Nate Doss is also a Jenkins, so don't forget to check him out.
Yeah, they've adopted him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then she gets to have his last name now, so it really all works out. Okay, and so that was like the special spec of the Masters Cup. And then I think he wanted me to make mention again of your scenery where you are. You've got the beach there, the Santa Cruz kind of fun vibe and lifestyle right there. And then De La Viega is just over the hill from one of the world's mystery spots. So there's a crazy gravity vortex going on at that course. Maybe a little magic, some fairies, probably a few gnomes. Who knows what else? So that course is a little special. It's set aside, especially for, the signature hole, the very last hole when you're throwing, where you seem like you're on top of the world, throwing down to that parking lot side basket. And you're looking out at the ocean and the bay, and it's a pretty special experience, not to mention all the other holes, but that one's the scenic signature one. So thank you, TJ, for kind of telling us the specs on the Lifetime Achievement Steady Ed Memorial Trophy. Brian, back to Montana in the Zootown Open, he wants to always be proud of overemphasizing his FPO payout and FPO recognition. There's a few things that go behind that, and I think that there are TDs spread out throughout this country that are doing the same thing, and thank you, you guys. Seriously, the women's field, it's hard to get the numbers, it's hard to get the payouts, it's hard, We're striving every day to grow that part of our sport, but when tournament directors can make a focus or even a side fund or special amenities for the women, I know in the Pittsburgh Open a couple years ago, They paid first through last place. Those kinds of things are really motivating. Tournament directors, if you can make the women, the FPO all the way down to the intermediate and rec women feel important, special, taken care of, you're going to help be one of the biggest ambassadors. So we have Val, doing disc golf for women, and we've got, I'm doing a bunch of teaching. We've got Sarah, all these gals that are on tour that are trying our hardest, but let's face the facts. How many of us are there? 20, 30 that are really on tour and like making face everywhere? Maybe 40 this year. So if we can get the men, and then especially the tournament directors and their teams involved with taking care of the ladies, man, you guys are going to really help us like set history to a little more balanced population in our sport and make the women greater. Who doesn't want to do that? Terry?
I do.
Everybody should want to.
Hey, ladies. When I run some of my unsanctioned tournaments, one of the titles is even "Hey, ladies," but
hey, ladies.
that gets them. All right. Anyway.
Okay. Another cute thing from Brian, real quick, about the taking care of the women is also that women are up there, and especially, primarily looked at as, obviously, all of us are the mother of children. Children are the future. Children are the next level. Children are in the schools. Again, the best way to grow the sport is taking care of the ladies due to the chain reaction. And thanks again, Brian, for pointing that out. His last thing that he said that's really important is make sure you pull out every stop you can to provide the best experience for not only the players, but the people in power, the ones that you're having to deal with, whether it's your Forest Service, your local Parks and Rec, the people in power of you being on the course, or, whoever you pulled your permit from, hopefully you pulled a permit. You want to take care of those people just as much, because again, we've got to continue to outreach to community to grow the sport. So again, all these tournament directors are really looking to grow the sport and outreach. And I want to move on to Haggerty and a few of the things that are special about the Beaver State Fling, and some of the things that he's dealing with, and then I can kind of wrap it up to our last thing. And Haggerty is Jeff Haggerty and Jeff Middle are, two of the 5 or 6 man team that really runs the show for Beaver State. They work all year long. He's trying to exceed expectations. He's constantly dealing with the players that want to get into the event, which is everyone, and then how many people he actually has spots for, right? So Haggerty's dealing with, and Middle are dealing with the lottery. And a lot of people don't understand that AM lottery. And just to kind of put it out there, what else could you do? He has 500 people in his phone probably right now that are part of Stumptown Disc Golf that will gladly take first priority because they're his friends and they're helping him work on the courses. However, he does a random draw that opens and closes at one certain time that's made known to everyone, and it is completely unweighted no matter what. And that's all he can do. Same thing with the pro side. He opens up, that 1,000 rated division. He holds a certain amount for women, and that's all he can really do. Now, what happens when people sign up for events and they don't show up? Terry, what happens when somebody emails you or calls you the night before and they want their money back? That's got to be a hard thing to deal with, especially if you're running a lottery and a system with like 500, 600, 700 people on the waiting list,
Yeah, I've never managed something through the lottery setup, so I guess I'm not sure how I would answer that.
How do you feel when someone calls you the night before asking to get in and then doesn't show up?
Yeah, I've had a number of those. Can you hold a spot, or can you can I get in? Can I get in? I'll do whatever it takes. I'll be there at 6:30. To pay you or whatever. Can I get in?
Here's a good tournament tip. Don't call the tournament director the day before the tournament.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
I think that's gonna save everyone right
Yeah,
there.
because odds
Plan
are
ahead.
he's dealing with 100,000 things. If
and you're
if
just
you-
going to piss me off. Really.
yeah, well, or you'll ignore it.
Unless you're calling with a very large sponsorship or donation.
Yep.
It's on a website or it's in the caddy guide.
Yeah.
Check one of those places. I'm assuming you can read.
Yeah, because if you want to get, as Zoe was getting to, if you want to get your money back the day before an event, I think most TDs are okay with that. As long send them an email if it's the day before. Send them an email. Let them know, because odds are they'll check their email, and don't bother them with a phone call.
Yeah.
At least then maybe they could put something on social media saying, hey, X, Y, and Z, someone's not showing up. Someone from the waiting list can then get on. With the Beaver State, you have people from all over the country trying to get in, so it's a little different.
Yeah,
the day
they must have a
before,
contingency
so they
plan.
must have something like that.
Simply because it's lottery to begin with.
Yeah.
So that does make it unique. So I'll be interested to hear how they do it. But no matter what they do, somebody's not going to be happy. But I don't know. I mean, because you normally, if an event is full, and then you can go right to the next person on the waiting list. In their case, maybe they have what they really should do is have the lottery and then have a backup lottery, a lottery waiting list, and maybe it's 100 deep, but you're in that order on the, and you might, I don't know. What did they do, Zoe? Just tell us. There's no reason for us to guess.
When I was talking to Jeff last night, he had mentioned how one year they split the AM and the pro weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then that opened up a whole extra course to fill.
Sure.
That's nice. That helps solve problems.
That's nice for the player, but a huge
experience.
That's nice for the player, but that also means you need double the volunteers, you need double the work, you need double the cuties, you need double the bananas if you're going to have them on two separate weekends. But go on.
You're right. I think the biggest thing though for the whole experience is, minus the cost and the doubling of everything, is the player's experiences. I know most all AMs want to be able to go and watch the pros, want to try to caddy, want to try to snap photos, get selfies, do whatever they can to watch some disc golf and see the pros. And a lot of those AMs are traveling there too. So again, how can we make everybody happy? And, talked about a couple of ideas. I mentioned maybe this year myself and a couple other local players can organize some events like that Monday through Thursday before the Beaver State, so that it's like they're pro-am things, that we're doing. And I think a lot of events do that, and that's great for just the sport again in general, just intermixing and having those times. But that's going to be the only way that we can open up more spots for that tournament. Otherwise, we have to keep it at one single weekend, and we have to keep it at that lottery, and there's nothing that can be done about it. Those are the facts. And even on the pro side, I know I actually kind of start panicking a little bit a couple minutes beforehand. And I'm playing FPO. I'm panicking because I have to be at the computer at the right time and clicking the button. And I have some of the same fears as the AMs. It's maybe not quite as drastic. Like, we have a few more minutes of opportunity, but it's just that scary. And it's just that doesn't have to be scary. It just has to be like, plan ahead, prepare. And then if you sign up and you don't plan on being there, give a TD as much heads up as possible so that they can accommodate for more people. Everybody has situations. Man, we're all late to something sometimes or can't make a trip. And all of that's already pre-understood as long as it's communicated the way I feel.
Yeah.
I think
or you just assume Kale's not going to be there when he's supposed to be. Go on. Go on. Go on.
But yeah, so I think, there were so many more meaningful things that all three of these tournament directors had to say, but they all directly tied back to the idea that they're really working so hard to make an event, and not a tournament, but an event. An event is like a festival. It's a memory. It's something special. They're not just doing something by the book or like a robot. They're pouring their heart and soul into it. Most of them do have a regular day job, and if they don't, they just have more heart and soul to put into it. And as players, as spectators, as people that aren't part of that team, I think it's important for all of us to realize that at least they're doing it, they're trying their hardest, And feedback is going to be good in any situation, in any relationship, in anything in our lives, as long as it's presented the proper way. There's
Complaining
never
on
any,
Facebook is not the proper way, folks.
That's not a good way to do it. And
How am I going to let all my friends know?
Yeah.
we all know that if you can't say something with a smile, you know, maybe you shouldn't really be saying it. A smile of some sort. You can smile seriously. Good serious smile. But yeah, let's just remember to give all of our TDs like a high five, a hats off, a great job. Give them feedback because they deserve that too. Give them a break, give them a helping hand. Let's all just remember that TDs work hard and pros work hard to travel and play the tour. Barsby gave a really nice interview, an extended interview on some of the things that he's done and seen, and he's been on tour like one of the longest probably, and grown up in his life on tour, from a child to, I think he's sub 30 years old right now, 28 or 29.
He's a man.
27.
You can
He's
say
a man.
From a child to a man. Barsby's a man, even with that long hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's neat to hear all these sides. I think I want to spend a little more time and do a more structured one of these closer towards the end of the season. I want to do another kind of a player's view of certain tournaments. We can do some highlighted tournaments versus how the tournament director felt just on those tournaments this year. And I think in doing that for the Smashbox Dear Disc Golf I Love You segment, my goal is people aren't just listening to me BS about how the event went. We're trying to grow how much better we can do all of our events. And I'm going to leave you with a couple of the things that I think are fun and exciting for the players and that I did at my event. And again, we talked about the fruit and all the water and all the stuff on the course. That's good. A lot of TDs do that. During the lunch break, if you can somehow get food provided or provide food. I know, again, Costco, to people pitching in, food provided is really wonderful. It's really memorable for the player. And then if you can do some kind of a halftime like update, lunchtime update or check-in. I, in my tournament, gave a trophy or an award and a little card for who was leading the tournament overall. And then I gave one for who was leading it in the most strokes overall, throwing the most shots. And then I gave one for middle of the pack, I think. I gave one for best dressed because it was April Fool's Dubs. But I think you can do best dressed for men's and women's. I see like this Airborne and this Fly Life and this Cali Connection brand stuff everywhere. And it's like, you could pick a best dressed and give out a cute little award for it. I'm sure you have a local sponsor that's giving you Kind bars or energy drinks, or maybe there's a beer sponsor or something like that to the tournament.
You can just etch Drew Gibson's name on that. Just say, call it the Drew Gibson Award.
Yeah.
Or if it's a beer sponsor, best dressed or best looking might change by the end of the round if it's a beer sponsor.
That's true.
I will say at the Ren Lake event, it was held at a golf course a couple of weeks ago, part of the Ledgestone Insurance Series, and because it was held at a golf course, they had, of course, a dress code, and then they went a step further and they gave out a $50 gift certificate to the single best dressed golfer that was there the day. And another pro tip: it happened to go to a guy with a bow tie, so. For what that's worth,
awesome.
That may help you. But yeah, they did just that. They gave away a Best Dressed award at the Ren Lake Open a couple weeks ago in Southern Illinois. So yeah, I love all those ideas. Those are great.
I think that's super, super great. And then when people say the DFL trophy, you can doll up that name instead of DFL or last place. You can say who had the opportunity to throw the most shots or who got to spend the most time thinking on the fairway. I don't know. You can doll it up to be a really positive thing versus you got last, like you can make
most
it fun.
negative strokes challenged, or never mind.
And then, I think that age divisions to push having, if you have the opportunity, 10 and under, 12 and under, 16 and under, 18 and under. And that gets people, dads have the opportunity to bring their kids. They want to throw with their kids. And then we always want to take care of every youth in the divisions. And I'll leave that one where it is. I could make mention of how many tournaments that make sure kids are leaving with discs and prizes and food and even toys. And that's totally going to be something that kid remembers and wants to keep coming back for more. So yeah.
Awesome.
I think we got it all. I just want to help grow the sport through tournament directing as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say we could, and of course I'm biased because I have run so many tournaments. But we could go on and on for days about things that have worked, things that haven't worked, and ways to improve. And this is obviously can be an ongoing subject. You see again referencing him. He's obviously a very experienced TD that does a lot of things right. But there's always room for improvement, and so I think you'll continue to hear about. And I think that's something that we could point out on our show is people should be submitting things that they experienced on any given weekend that was unique or special about the event they just played in, where they could say, hey, they had a such and such contest rather than the typical CTPs and all those other things. I was at one this weekend where it was whoever brought the prettiest female along with them or something like that, or I don't know, maybe that's not a good one. Yeah. But there's all sorts of different ideas that you could do and have different ideas. Or even how about the award for the guy that was responsible for just bringing the most amount of women along to help grow the women's field. I mean, there's so many.
That is a great award.
There's so many different ways you could do it. So lots of great ideas out there. Awesome.
And I think we should just, continue to check in. If we can get scenarios or get little things on the Smashbox feed, then we can bring it up for discussion. And like I said, maybe towards the end of the season, we can do a little bit of comparison and talk to other TDs again.
Sounds like a plan. All right, Zoe. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We will be touching base with you again. I was trying to think when we're traveling to. That's 2 weeks from now. We travel to Glassblown.
Hopefully. Yeah.
So
we'll see you still next week.
And you guys are going to be home.
We will. We're more stationary than you. We have a little more of a home base here.
Oh, yeah.
But yes, we will be here next week, and we look forward to another Zoe segment. Dear Disc Golf, I love you.
Joining you from Corvallis next week.
Of course, somewhere else.
And wish me luck, everyone. Monday and Tuesday, I spend my first, I think it's going to be a 6.5 hour day, both days in Lincoln Elementary, doing disc golf in schools. And I get to work with the kindergartners through the 5th graders.
Awesome.
Every single PE class. We've got DG Nomad targets, Legacy discs, and myself and Dustin Keegan to teach the material and put it in the school. Yeah, so I'll probably check in a little bit about that too.
Awesome, please do. All right, dear. Sounds good. Thanks again for joining us tonight, and we will catch you next week. All righty. Well, Zoe, as always, has some great info, and again, it's hard for me not to get a little worked up or passionate about it, just because
someone was asking for a weekly rant. That is the best. I was thinking that is one of the best ways to get you on a rant is start talking about tournament directing and the ins and outs of it and the pet peeves. We've always couple things. We've always said pre-register because. It
makes everyone's life easier.
And I'll tell you this right now. There's an event I'm pre-registered for. I know I'm not going to make. But I pre-registered. So I won't be we should probably let Mr. Shukar know that I'm not going to be at that event. I registered through IRO, so what I'll probably end up doing is just taking that that's a benefit of registering through Terry a lot. For me, I'm just going to put that money towards another event. Terry will open up a spot for that event. Someone else will get in now. So, and as we said, calling the night before, it's just not worth it. If you really want to play, just show up that morning and hope that somebody didn't get there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easier.
And I'm even to the point too, and I know other TDs are getting there, where I may not have a full field, but I don't want to sacrifice, if you have a maximum field of 90 and I've got 83 signed up on Friday night, I may not even care about filling out those other 7 spots because that's going to take away from all the things that we have to do to be efficient in the morning. Yep. And, I may say, no, I'm not even taking any more on the next morning. I don't think when I take weeks or months and dozens or hundreds of hours to prepare for any event, I guarantee it's more hours than you put in, for starters. And second of all, the least respect you could possibly, the least you can do is pre-register for a tournament. Yeah. I've put out thousands of dollars. I've paid for permits. I've paid for insurances.
Players
I've updated websites. I've done, every TD has done hundreds of little things to make this experience. Yep. But you think, maybe I'll call him the night before and see if I can play. Like, that's not a lot of commitment on your part, and I think that's the least people can do. And again, don't get me really started on that.
I know,
because it's a sore spot, and I realize I'm in a business of that ultimately is a customer service to some degree.
And the other thing, we're gonna go off on TD things here, that I've heard you complain about quite a bit, is when your tournament doesn't get full until, I don't know, maybe a week before, if you're lucky, maybe 3 days before, and there might be a division that didn't quite fill up, or that person didn't sign up, and now they're complaining that they don't have a trophy.
Yeah,
so
that's a good one.
There were, we're gonna throw amateur women out there. Let's just say amateur women, or even amateur men, novice. Suddenly, there's nobody in the field up until 3 days before or 4 days before.
And two of them decide to sign up.
And two of them decide to sign up because they're buddies. And now they show up in the event and they're, well, how come we didn't get a trophy?
Yeah, and we're not picking on AM women. We'll say
novice
men.
It could be amateur, novice men. I said, no, I didn't just say that. But
advanced
it could be
masters. Advanced men masters.
Sure.
How's that?
It could be open.
Sure.
Highly unlikely, but... And then they complain that there wasn't a trophy. Well, guess what? You didn't give the TD enough time ahead of time to get that trophy. Why should the TD go out and get a trophy for every possible division when there isn't one there?
Yeah.
Give the TD, in theory, 2 weeks.
Oh gosh, yeah.
In theory, that's the latest I would say. If you want a trophy, it should be 2 weeks. And we've seen pictures on Facebook of TDs already making trophies for events coming up 2, 3, 4 months along the line, because they're custom trophies. They're trophies that they might be literally whittling out of wood at the time. So. Yeah, give your TD and it's some advance notice. That's all I'm going to say about that. We're going to move on to social news. Otherwise, Terry's head might.
I will.
His face will turn as red as his shirt.
And my face is already sunburned from
from
not being prepared in Texas.
So I think there were really two big news things this week. The first one was UC announcing his retirement from disc golf, which I think caught
competitively playing disc golf.
Yes,
that's
not
clarifier.
Correct. Not promoting. He will no longer. He says he will no longer competitively play disc golf. He says he will not play another event. I don't know how much.
Felberg also told me that he was going to play 10 events, in 2014.
Again, I don't know. I don't know if I'll buy UC retiring completely. He may pop up for an event here or there, but for all intents and purposes, he's done. He's not probably going to compete at the highest level anymore. He knows that. His passions and his focus have now pointed him into other things. So we wish UC the best of luck, because I think he can do nothing but promote and help the sport. But he's going to be focusing now on Innova Europe. What was it called? Spin
18.
Spin 18. I want to say Spin 360 for something. So Spin 18, which is, it seems like it's all encompassing, like kind of.
Yeah, I don't want to say it was vague, but it does sound. It's a general disc golf promotion company.
Yeah, they've got some sort of broadcast for the European Open. I don't know if it's this upcoming one or if it's the next one.
I would assume it's this year.
Probably this year. Some national broadcast coverage for that. So we're pretty excited about that with UC. UC's not one of the, but he's a good guy. There's
he's a good guy, and he obviously works really hard at what he does, and he's done some phenomenal things. And again, somebody was asking me about it today. I don't want to say it's easier overseas, but when they treat the game more serious, and when the game is promoted in schools, and it's legit, we always say, disc golf's the fastest growing sport in America, and it's not. But in lots of other European countries, it literally is the fastest growing sport, and one of the most supported and welcomed and embraced. And the way they treat the sport and learning it is very different from what it is in the U.S. So there's a lot of potential over there. It's a smaller pond, but
That's what we said last week.
they take it more seriously. So it's exciting to see what he's going to have over there. And then obviously he can bring a lot of that, success and bring it over here to the U.S.
The other news, the PDGA announced I'm going to bring it up here on Facebook so I don't, actually I'm not because I turned it off, but the new Team World Championships in coordination with the World Flying Disc Federation, which it sounds like they kind of want a country Riders Cup, so to speak.
Sure.
Rather than just United States versus European Open, more of all countries.
Do you see that being kind of lopsided?
Yes. I was going to say, do you see that being successful? I was going to say no.
Oh.
I think there's going to be a problem with the fact that the United States has 95% of the top disc golfers.
Mm-hmm.
And then Europe has some very good disc golfers that can compete on a smaller scale, as in as a European team. You break that out into the countries, and I think you're going to run into a problem because the United States is such a big country that we have so much more of a pool to pull from. When you pull just the Finnish or just the Swedish or just the German, I think unfortunately we have such an unfair advantage.
Yeah, we got a lot more players to play from.
More players from. Yeah, and more courses, and I mean it all just adds up. So I don't see this. Is there
going to be like a cool running story here where there's a smaller country that has like this?
So let's just say there's a team of 12. The 13th guy, let's just say, throw it a pro. Come on, let's say Philo.
Okay.
Philo doesn't make the team. Can he be picked up by Germany's team? Are we going to start seeing really the United States spread to other countries? Maybe
sure.
Maybe Philo's got some German in him.
Yeah.
Some ancestry. There's going to be it's going to be a touchy situation. I think you're going to see. I just see it being very lopsided depending on how it works.
Yeah, I think lopsided is probably the best word for it. And I'll admit I didn't read all of the details or know all of the specifics about it, but it'll be interesting to see how this pans out. And of course,
we're not here for details. That's what All Things Disc Golf is for. We are here to let you know and then just ramble on about something that may be completely wrong, and then All Things Disc Golf will pick up the slack.
Yeah, thanks guys. Appreciate that.
So
yeah, we will see what happens there. If anybody knows anything we don't, keep us posted.
Yeah, please let us know. So,
all right, you talk a little bit about some poll results.
So in our after shows, we've gone off on a couple rants, tangents. So what I've done is out on Facebook the past couple weeks, I've put a couple polls out there asking the questions that we asked, hoping to get a decent result. The first one was, if you could shoot equally as well both backhands, right and left backhand, or forehand and backhand with one hand, what would you pick? It was pretty close. In 58% said they would shoot forehand and backhand with one hand,
which is what I would do.
Yep. Or versus 42% saying backhand with both, which is what I think I would prefer to do. Because I see that we had this discussion that the only way I see forehand and backhand with one beneficial is for kind of reaching out and stretching to different areas. Like you're getting stuck behind a bush and things like that. I would prefer to shoot with backhand with both hands, be able to step up to a tee and kind of be able to go high, go low, lots of different angles, things like that with both hands. So just update on that. The other poll we had was more highly contested about your doubles ace. That if you have an ace, whether or not you share it with your doubles partner. Overwhelmingly, they said yes. More than 50, it's 55%, 91 votes says yes, you split it with your partner because you're a team. 55 votes, 33% said never, it's mine, I hit that ace, I'm keeping the money. That's fine. 3 said I offer it but secretly hope, or 19 people said that they offer but secretly hope they turn it down, which is 11%. And 1% said that he doesn't offer. 1 vote, and he sneaks away after the event. So whoever that 1% is, we will find you and probably do nothing.
I remember I thought somebody had said that. I thought someone we specifically spoke to said that they were that person.
No, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. But
and to kind of follow this up and to piggyback off of that just a little bit, I saw Holly Finley had recently posted something about somebody had gotten an ace at a charity event, and I believe and then I kind of through some more clicks found there's these hyperlinks or these clicks that you can do, and you can go to other things on the interweb, and I found someone who had said, I hit an ace today for $470 at a charity event, and I donated $100 back to the charity. And I think Holly I think Holly took that. I think she may have seen the same post. I think she took that post, and then that's how she posed her question, saying, if you're at a charity event and you hit an ace, how much do you donate to the event? And honestly, I did not read through. I don't think I literally read a single response.
Is it? It's tough. It's a tough call. Like,
why are you having an ace pool then?
Correct.
If you're not gonna take any of it home.
Correct. That's what I'm saying. Was that a 50-50 ace pool where I put in $10 and $5 already went to the charity?
No, let's just
or
presume.
Or is it just an ace pool that everyone gets together, tosses a buck in? If you win, whatever.
I'm gonna guess it was a $5 ace pool.
Let's
There's
just say
$470 in it.
Sure.
Let's just say it was a $5 ace pool with $470 in it, and let's just say it's. Again, I don't know, but we'll say it's a non-sanctioned event.
Sure.
I don't know if it matters if it's sanctioned or not, but it's a non-sanctioned event, and the primary reason for this event is to raise money for St. Jude or some other thing. And you hit a $470 ace. What are you inclined to do?
If it's a charity event, I am. I'm gonna completely contradict myself here. I am inclined in that point to donate a portion of it back.
Okay.
But I'll say this. Last year, I went to a non-disc golf charity event where I won it was a $20. I won $500. Half of it went to the charity, half of it came to me. So I won $500. The charity got $500.
Okay.
I didn't give them any. Now, granted, I bid on other things because it was an auction and things like that, but they had already gotten half. So I think that was what factored in. Like, they got their half. I'm going to get my half. If I was maybe more wealthy, like a lot of the people that were there, maybe then you kind of say, oh, hey, this $500 doesn't mean much to me. But that $500 meant a lot to me.
So you're a cheap dickhead. I get it.
Yeah, I am. Completely.
No, I agree with you in that case. And then maybe I'd even take it a step further and say, what if you paid $50 to get into this event and virtual, we'll say very little, you got a disc. You paid $50, you got a disc, and there's no payout. You hit a $470 ace. You've paid $50 to play in the event, and there's no payout, and you got a disc, that recognizes the charity. How much of that do you give then?
That's a good question.
I think $100 sounds pretty reasonable.
I think so. Is it always $100? Like if you won $1,000 in the ace pool, would it be then $200?
No, I still think $100 sounds reasonable at that point.
I agree. It's and obviously it will depend on your situation in life.
Do you need
that extra $100? If it's $500, if it's $300, do you give a third of it, or do you be there's $50?
What a great question. The DG Beat asked, do you tip the TD after you win an ace pot? I've honestly never once heard of that. No. It's kind of a funny thing to do.
Yeah.
I think the TD should be, possibly paid or compensated for all the other work they're doing. And
correct.
I mean, I guess that would be a polite gesture. I've never heard of tipping the TD.
No, nor have I.
I mean, it would be almost like giving them a commission. I mean, they did set it up. So
maybe they didn't.
Maybe they didn't.
Yeah.
They could have been on their own. Yep. So kind of funny. Some interesting questions out there. But long and short of it for me is if I win a $470 ace pool and I'm playing in a charity event, I think making a donation of $100 is a very respectable amount.
Yep. It's almost
honestly. I think 50 is a respectable amount at that point.
Yeah.
If you've paid $50 to play,
yep.
And you're not really playing for a payout to begin with, and you give $50. I mean, I don't think you have to give any because you're already there and you've done the donating.
Correct.
And maybe you are already thinking, well, $5 ace pool, that's really my only shot at winning anything, any money today after I've donated. More power to you. I don't think you need to donate it. Or I think maybe I did see a response because I thought somewhere along there somebody said something about, well, you should donate it all, and I just think that's stupid.
Yeah.
Not stupid. Very generous if you can do it.
If you can do it.
I don't
if it's
to in any way be looked down upon or frowned upon because you didn't
not-
donate at all.
no.
I think that's wrong. Just like I also think it's stupid when somebody says, "Oh, you got an ace, you got to buy beer next week." You know what? Sometimes you hit a $100 ace pool. You're supposed to go spend $68 on buying 10 cases of cheap or 5 cases of cheap beer, whatever. Everybody's gonna do my math, but whatever. To go out and spend that all on buying beer for everyone
for the next week at league or whatever.
That's silly.
I agree.
Probably beer that's not even allowed to be in that park either. That. I want to be responsible for bringing a bunch of beer to the park that doesn't even allow beer drinking.
Even take that out, factor out. Bring have everyone go out for a drink after or something, and you shouldn't be responsible to buy. Now, again,
I'll bring cookies.
It's kind of like Monopoly rules. There are home rules.
Yeah, every place is a little different.
If I'm a visitor at a league and I hit that league ace, like let's just say a local park.
You're at De La Viega next week.
Yeah, I'm at De La Viega. The ace pool's up to $570.
Okay.
They have a tradition of, hey, if you hit an ace, you buy tacos for everybody.
Okay. At the taco truck in the parking lot, we'll say.
I would say, am I held to that standard? Because that's not my normal ace. That's not my normal league.
I wouldn't think so.
I don't know. I mean, I would probably do it depending on the cost. I mean, if I want a $570 ace pool, it was going to run me $50. Woohoo!
Okay.
If I want a $100 ace pool, it's going to cost me $50. That's different.
Yeah.
And we've had this discussion about ace pools and let's drive across town because the other league that you don't normally go to has a huge ace pool. Does some of it stay in the pot if it gets so big? Blah blah blah. There's
a lot
like I
of
said,
different
it's
ways to look at it.
Monopoly home rules. So
yeah. All right.
Why don't you talk? This was a question that was posed to you today on Facebook.
It was.
So why don't you kind of get into this one?
Well, basically, I was just asked. Dave had posted on my wall and said, "You're an experienced TD. Basically, how do you feel about people being asked for autographs during the round?" And I said, "I'll sign autographs." And, no, I'm just kidding. No, people being asked during autographs, and then I followed that up and said, because he saw it happen at the Nick Hyde this weekend, as did I, because I was standing there. And, of course, a lot of times it was little kids, or I think it might have been dads that were like, "Hey, Junior, go get this autograph. I want it, but I don't want to ask.
Go get Germ's autograph, quick."
So what was happening is there would be a backup. Hole 9 is really commonplace because of the type of hole that it is, or holes 2 or 3, and it would be during the round. And somebody would walk up, and the player would be, clearly not preparing to throw, but would just be standing around doing whatever. And they would come up and say, "Can I get your autograph?" And literally every person that I saw asked of their autograph did sign it, and they signed it with a smile on their face and said, "No problem, here you go," whatever. And usually the parent or the individual, was very appreciative of it, and that's all that there was to it. But as I alluded to or mentioned in one of my responses as the post got longer and longer, we got to draw a line somewhere. And even if our players don't mind now, what happens when those 5 autographs turn into 55 autographs?
Well, so
during the round.
Correct. So I kind of think of it, I mean, everyone said a lot of things, but we need to get more towards a golf mentality where they have the spectators separated. If at a backup, a player walks over to the spectators and is like, "Hey, I see a kid with a marker can I get it?" And he wants to do it, that's fine.
Sure.
But a spectator should not approach a player. If a player wants to approach, and especially not, right now we're kind of in this in between. I mean, we're a growing sport. But you see a bunch of players at a backup just kind of maybe playing hacky sack.
Hacky sack is a common one.
You're going to feel more comfortable to walk up and ask for an autograph. It's not appropriate, but I can totally understand
how they feel like, they're casually just...
Yeah, they're just hanging out. They're not really thinking about golf. They're not, they're not waiting to throw. They're not looking down the fairway. They're just hanging out with their buddies. It's not appropriate, but I can completely understand how someone would do it.
Yeah, and then that's where I said it's a catch-22 because we are so young and we are so approachable.
Yep.
But there's going to need to be that separation and that line of, this is, and I immediately related it to our live coverage situation where a lot of people have challenged us and said, "Hey, the disc golf guy is a little too either too chatty or he's asking, Macbeth questions, or, he's doing things that shouldn't be said during the round. And I said, again, there's a time and a place, and you've got to know when. If you're going to do it, you do have to pick your times. I'm not going to go up to big Germ, you just smashed that tree. How does it feel? Like, I'm not. But if Germ comes over to me and says, man, I just smashed that tree and, I slipped or whatever, and he tells me stuff.
Yeah.
That's a totally different story. And that does happen a lot. And we've said it before. Paul Macbeth has told me outright, hey, if you want to talk to me at any point, feel free. I mean, when he kind of ahead of time gives me that permission, and even there, I don't want to overstep any boundaries. I mean, I have to gauge all of that interaction.
Is there a difference between doing that at a B tier versus an NT?
Sometimes, I'll say during the finals, and here's a great example. During the finals this weekend, the guys were very loose. Yeah. Like, 3 rounds have been played, 57 holes have been played. There's still 9 more holes to determine literally thousands of dollars. Yep. But there was a six'em, there was a large gallery, and the guys were more loose than normal, almost as if the scores didn't matter. Is how I perceived it. I mean, they, we were winding down a long weekend. There was a ton of focus on the Masters. So half the time when the guys were being distracted, it was because they were watching the Masters on their phone during the tournament, which was which is totally their prerogative. Yep. So this weekend was a little different. It felt a little loose and relaxed. And is there a difference between a B tier and an NT? The pressures are a little different, certainly, but I think it comes down to the group. And
it does.
What I thought you were going to ask, is there a difference between media and media's interaction along with just spectator interaction?
Of course, there's completely different.
There's different roles and responsibilities that we've taken on as media. Yep. And, and to take that a step further, Marty Gregoire, for instance, who commonly is doing live scoring, every once in a while, if he didn't see what happened, he may need to say to a big Germ, hey, what'd you guys take on that last hole? Because I didn't see, or can I see your scorecard? He needs to interact as well. Yep. And you certainly wouldn't want a spectator coming out like, hey, wait,
what'd you get on that hole?
Yeah.
Ooh, sorry about that. There's, of course, there's a definite definition between media and spectator.
Yeah, so
you are a spectator as a media. You're spectating the event, but you're also you're news.
I'm performing a role and a function
for
in
the event.
Reporting
the PDGA
capacity
or whatever. So,
so I guess really the long and short of it is, it would be best if you did it no later than 30 minutes before the round. So if they're teeing off at 9:30, I would say by 9 a.m. you should try and get your autographs in, and then possibly at lunch if they're definitely in a relaxed lunch mode and they're not doing anything else to get ready, and then after the tournament. But during the round, it's kind of bad. It's definitely bad form, and other people have said it. In no other sports do you really see someone going up and getting an autograph mid competition.
Correct.
I mean, Happy Gilmore did it that one time when he
I was going to say that's not true. I mean, in regular golf they do. Sometimes in golf, you'll see people, if they're waiting on the tee for the group, they may sign some autographs or sign some balls for the spectators around that tee.
I guarantee you nobody in a bad mood is signing them.
Agree. And the spectators cannot approach they can yell and scream and whatever, but they can't get past the ropes. So, and we are as equivalent to golf as anything else. So, but you're right.
And it does say, actually, in the PDGA, for those, another good read, it would be your PDGA, not the rules. What accompanies the competition manual. Thank you. Wow. Thanks for that one. On the competition manual, it says that players are required to be available a certain amount of time. I think it's 30 minutes, like before their rounds or after their rounds for media stuff. It actually says it right in the competition manual that they're required to be around. So
that's for NTs only.
I believe NTs and majors probably.
NTs and majors. That's what I meant.
So that's something to take into consideration. So when somebody wants to run away from an interview from me, I'm going to hunt them down and grab them, tackle them.
I timed you. It's 28 minutes.
Let's get to it. So and again, our players are gracious, and my only challenge is when those 5 people turn into 55 or turn into 105, that's when we're going to have.
And we are going to run into, we've mentioned it before, we're going to run into this problem of old school versus new school versus like, you're going to have these guys be like, I've been at this event for 15 years. I know these guys. I'm going to do what I want, walk up and ask them. And you're going to get, it's going to reflect badly.
Yeah.
We made this comment about caddies. Mm-hmm. Suddenly, you've got, who's allowed behind the ropes.
Yeah, or inside the ropes.
You're inside the ropes. Your caddy's water boy, your caddy's boyfriend, your caddy's girlfriend, your girlfriend or boyfriend. That's, you may have if Kat is dominating an event and her caddy is whomever, does Paul have the right to now just jump the rope and hang out with Kat? Mm-hmm. Because of their relationship. Yeah.
That's an interesting question, and especially at our biggest events. Mm-hmm. And we're seeing more and more of that. And that's part of, I'll put that in the growing pains category. Yeah. Because as we're getting bigger, those decisions need to be made, and it'll be interesting to see. And then media as well. And obviously we see at some events, media is very well protected. Yep. And just like other events, we do see ropes that literally divide the spectators from the players, but not at all events. I mean, this event, I don't think Matt was planning on a couple hundred people to be out walking around on Saturday or Sunday. And, there's another 2 to 4 volunteers just to, do ropes, which wouldn't really be practical at some courses.
Tyler's mentioning that you only get them during practice rounds and not so much during regular rounds. You do get one if you get hit with a ball. Usually, sometimes you get the glove or a ball or things like that. Sure.
All right, so we're going to move over to
UC.
We kind of alluded to this a number of times throughout the show, but UC wants to know what's holding the sport back.
UC is.
Yes.
He is holding the sport back. Now that he's done with disc golf, he'll stop holding the sport back. He will push our sport into the future.
Yeah, UC.
No, I don't know. There's no good answer for that.
No, I mean, there's a million different things that could be said. I kind of went back and forth with Avery Jenkins a little bit. He had talked about the courses and professional equipment and professional this and that. And I said...
I disagree.
I totally disagreed with him. And in that I said, you could go to a basketball court, you can go to a tennis court right now, and you're going to find grass, you're going to find dilapidated, backboards and nets, and you're going to still find people playing those. You could go to a lot of basketball courts today with no chain or a chain net or no net.
Yeah. Or tennis. I've played tennis on like these weird chain link,
And guess what? Those basketball courts can still be packed on any given Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
That's not holding back the sport and the playing. Does it look great? No, but just like, a beat up basket or a bad tee pad, those are all things I want addressed. I mean, there's no doubt we want to address those, and we want to put our best foot forward with those specific items. But that's not what's holding us back.
No. I mean, if you want to make, and we kind of touched on it with Greg, if you want to make the argument that, NTs and majors should have some standards as far as tee pads and baskets, I'm all about it. Bring up the subject.
Sure.
You want to say you have to have X size of tee pad made out of, certain concrete or whatever. That's fine. You can make that argument. I have no problem with that, because I do think it can look rinky-dink to walk up to a tee pad and have it just be like a dirt hole.
Sure.
Like, congratulations, you're throwing a dirt hole.
Yeah.
But I don't want to hear the argument that God, this is a 120-foot hole. Great, you still have to hit it.
Yeah.
You still have to get the courses are courses. Everyone's playing the same course, whether it's a course like Coldbrook, which is tight and wooded, or it's a course on a ball golf course where it's majestic and you're not worried about hitting a tree the entire round. It's not the courses right now that's holding us back, and I don't know if there is anything holding us back, to be honest.
Could just be time.
It's just there might just not be the what's holding bowling back.
Yeah.
Is there anything? I mean, they've got unified
standardized
lanes and balls and oils that they use and things like that, and they're not nearly as big as they used to be.
Yeah.
There's that whole documentary we've talked about in the past. So what's holding them back? Just lack of interest?
Yeah. So sometimes
maybe
fads.
we need to take the plunge and just say we're not that interesting to people yet. And maybe we will be someday.
And maybe we won't.
Or maybe we won't. Maybe just like, I'm sure, as I've said before, 20 years ago, Barry Schultz thought, all right,
time to cash
in. The sport's about to take off.
Yeah.
And guess what? We're not much bigger than we were 20 years ago. We have more courses. but the payouts aren't much bigger. Everyone has said it. It's just not there. The pros don't see the benefits. Unlike, I think, the amateurs are seeing tons of benefits with more courses going in and more
discs and more selections, more options,
more
places to play,
things like that. So that level of the sport is growing, but the top of the pyramid isn't getting any bigger. The bottom is, but the top isn't.
Correct.
So, again, if we hit big, awesome. If we don't, we'll still be here jabbering on our microphones.
Maybe Smashbox is holding it back.
We are. That's too bad. If we only had more cameras.
Yeah.
So, all right, you have you hinted at some pro tips.
I have some pro tips, and that goes hand in hand with Smashbox and video blog coverage. This weekend, I was speaking of Paul Macbeth.
I'm just reading this.
He was on the final, we'll say his 57th hole. I'm sorry, his 56th. He had one hole to play. It was Sunday, third round.
Okay.
And he had two discs in his hand, a very bright champion pink disc and a very minty-ish green Star Destroyer that he had thrown a ton throughout the rest of the round.
Okay.
And he had kind of made a joke like, "Oh, do I go for this one or not?" is what I think he said to me.
Yeah.
And he was lining up the two discs, and he's throwing over the water, and he really decided if he wanted to go big hyzer or if he wanted to throw a turnover shot. And he kind of hemmed and hawed, and then ultimately he threw this minty greenish Star Destroyer. And he didn't throw a good shot with it. It wasn't impressive by his standards or mine. And he threw the shot, and as we had the long walk over to the basket, he said something or other. I said, "Oh, why didn't you?" I said, "What is that other one? And why didn't you throw that one?" He's like, "Oh, because of the wind, this and that." And I said, "I wish you would have thrown the pink one." He's like, "Why?" I said, "Because I can see it. That minty green disc is nearly impossible to follow in the air."
Nobody cares.
Yeah, people will care.
No,
people will care when.
Well, people will care when you can't follow the
Correct.
disc,
That's my point. People will care.
That's nothing they need.
No,
to
I know.
themselves
I know.
as
And
you
the
know.
funny part is, though, he said to me then, "Well, you should have told me that. I would have thrown the pink one." So, Paul, who's working on a lead, and Paul, who knows what it's like to entertain the crowds,
and Paul,
Paul plays into that for us,
and he's very friendly with us, and he knows,
But my point being, so my pro tip is, if you want your disc and you want better coverage, throw discs that cameramen like myself and Jomez
yep.
and others that we can see.
Avoid green,
blue, sometimes white if it's really bright out.
White if it's a really bright sky.
You throw like reds or pinks, you're golden. All right. But I'll tell you, blue is really tough to follow.
It is.
White can be tough depending on the sun.
That's why
that day.
I only throw clear discs.
And man, if everybody just threw pink discs, well, it would be great. So anyway, so tip number one is throw discs that we can see. And here's another one, and I don't care if people want to disagree or not, but another pro tip is if you're a top player and you're being filmed, I can't learn every single disc every time you throw it. Well, I could maybe by the end of the year, but if you're throwing a stock stamp, it helps me out. And by me, I mean you.
Sure.
And I mean your company, and I also mean the spectators.
Yeah.
So when I'm looking at, you're lining up a shot and you're throwing a Icon Canon, and I can clearly read that, and I know it's not misstamped.
Yeah.
I will be able to tell the viewers at home.
Because people always ask, "Hey,
Steve Rico's throwing a Canon here.
Can you tell me what they're throwing?" And we can't.
We can't
if
always.
He's throwing a Masters stamped, Masters Open stamped disc. It's
I know there's a million custom stamps up there, and this is kind of tongue in cheek, but I will admit that if and maybe sponsors should require it. Like, hey, you're sponsored by us. We want you throwing something, and if you're going to be all cutesy and have a AVR stamp on the top of your Wraith, well then F off, because there's only so much we can do about that. So anyway, my tip would be it helps us. It helps me in the media that if you're throwing a stock stamp disc, that I can announce it. And that only helps you and your sponsor. You're there trying to represent
correct
Legacy or Innova or Discraft or whomever. And if I know what disc you're throwing, I'll announce it. So anyway, that's kind of funny that those are a couple things I noticed this weekend.
Sure. And that makes a lot of sense. If you can throw something that is identifiable, it will help out. Yeah, it'll help out you and your sponsor.
It will. And don't get me wrong, I see a lot of these guys a lot of times. I now know that minty green disc that he had, and then he has a star a star destroyer that he throws a ton. He throws a lot of destroyers. So I know that now, but when Big Germ's got
But when
12
everyone starts
pastel
throwing
color,
pink discs, you're going to be confused.
That's true.
So what we need the players to do, and
Like in golf, have codes with caddies. That's what they do.
yeah, I'm saying for us though.
Oh, okay.
What I need every pro to do right now is go to a color printer, match the color of your disc to what it is, and before the round, hand it to Terry.
Yeah.
So he knows.
Hand me
a
caddy
color-coded caddy sheet for the player. So when he sees you pull out the black disc, he can go, oh, black disc. Oh yeah, this is the icon.
Yeah.
This is the da.
Well,
so do that right now.
Allegedly, and nobody's chimed in yet, but allegedly, not allegedly. I guess what they do on the PGA Tour is the caddy of the golfer has codes and or hand signals that they give to the reporters out in the field.
Okay.
And they, I don't know if it's just a simple
it's probably like
finger sign. Yeah, who knows?
5 iron,
clearly.
1 wood.
Who knows what it is? But my point is,
I want to see somebody out there going, he's throwing the eagle. As he's flapping.
That would be awesome. I'm like, oh no, I thought it was a T-Rex. Darn it.
No, dude, T-Rex is like this. I told you.
I mean a T-bird. Yeah, T-Rexes probably don't fly, do they? I was thinking T-bird. So
show me a griffin.
A griffin also has wings.
I know,
but it's a little meaner looking.
And that's great for all.
And then there's a rock.
That's great for Innova. Wait,
yeah.
How are you gonna be doing? Show me the cannon.
Yeah, or would show me.
How about this one? Show me the convict. I got a couple. I got a couple mug shots of golfers I could throw up.
I just throw up abbreviated state.
So we could go off this for a while. Dynamic disc is the best because they've got all like the convict, the verdict, the judge.
Yeah, all of those different ones. But
those are the most fun.
So and unfortunately we just don't have enough caddies because honestly I would do that even with caddies. If there's a caddy, a caddy's going to know these players, and again, to mention Macbeth, but he frequently has a caddy like his John Tompkins or Kyle or whomever. So I can, very discreetly say to, hey, what is that he keeps throwing? Or before his bag was stolen, I knew a lot of the discs in his bag because, again, of the frequency of covering it. But I'll admit, like Big Germ, he's got like a lot of, pastel colored drivers, and I can't necessarily see the stamp on top or whatever. A lot of them look the same.
Yep.
And
we don't expect the player to tell you during the round.
If they want to, they can, but if they, we don't expect them to.
Nope.
So that's what we're working on. So anyway, a couple of super great tips. So if you're on the top, you find yourself being covered by SmashBoxxTV or the Disc Golf Guy, either give me a chart ahead of time or throw all pink discs that are stock stamped, right?
With a distinct stamp on them, like color too, so you can see it on the pink. You don't want a pink disc with a pink
don't
stamp.
Get a pink disc with a pink stamp. That won't
you
work
gotta
for
have
me.
pink and black or something complementary color, so it's easy to see.
Yeah, so
I mean, there's just a few rules we want.
Yes, exactly. Make it happen.
Lord.
T-Rexes can't follow through. Would you say they short arm everything?
I think they do. Yeah.
Anyway, all right. Do we have anything else on
We
there?
don't. I think that's the last of our social media and pro tips and all that other
And
good
the last
stuff.
quick thing I will say, though, Scott Stokely, Jeremy Coling. Stokely apparently has moved off of the Macbeth ribbing, and he's moved on to Jeremy Coling, talking about sidearms, and then all, of course, for a fundraising for, I think it was Sophia.
Sophia, who has autism. And
so that's awesome. They're working on something.
Some big.
Not sure how that will unfold exactly, but I know they're exchanging funny little videos back and forth.
Go and watch them. They're pretty humorous.
Yeah, so there's some good stuff there. All right, let's wrap this thing up. I don't know how it's gone this long as a real show, but
Wow.
we can wrap this. Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous.
I know, it's funny when I should just cover up the time because I don't want to see it.
Oh
People
my gosh.
complain about it, but I don't care. All right, so we got our weekly picks. I'll go first as always.
Mm-hmm.
I posted something on Facebook, on my personal Facebook page. There's a local Milwaukee band who I'm a big fan of called Maritime,
Yep.
formerly known as the Promise Ring. Most of them.
Why'd they change their name?
A couple new guys. There was 3 or 4 new guys. It's a slightly different type of music than what they used to play. They're all getting old. They're all in their 40s now, as opposed to when they were in their 20s. So, but they released a song called Milwaukee, which is an ode to the city we live, Milwaukee. It's a lot of fun, and if you enjoy that particular song, then you will probably enjoy a huge swath of what they have out there, and you can dive into the back catalog. But it's the band is called Maritime. The song is called Milwaukee. It's out on iTunes. But otherwise you can kind of go and just look for it on YouTube. I know it's out there. So, Terry, I see you. Are you getting hungry?
No, I'm not. But I'll admit, I typically stay away from any food related picks because I always feel like
You're setting yourself up for the joke.
exactly like maybe if he just didn't pick so much of that food, he wouldn't.
Or maybe because you're chunky, you know food better than most people.
Yeah, well, there's that too. However, I did get to experience some Texas action, and we went to a couple of Texas brew houses, bars, clubs. We went to a couple of good old, home cooking. We went to, I think, one chain restaurant throughout the weekend. And then this actually is a chain restaurant, apparently. And I was going to look and try and find where they're exactly located because I still don't even know.
Yeah.
But I know it's in Texas and just that surrounding, I don't know if it's just Austin and Dallas or wherever. I'm sure somebody can chime in. But what I'm getting at, on Friday, I had the pleasure of going to lunch with Maria Oliva and the birthday girl, Liz Dories. They picked the place. I treated, and we went to Raising Cane's.
Okay.
And it was good. And you know why? Because they serve chicken. And anyone that knows me knows I'm a big fan of chicken. I'm one of those weirdos that goes to Outback Steakhouse, and I order the Alice Springs chicken. I'm just a chicken fan. I always have been. Boneless, skinless chicken is what I prefer. I love me some chicken, any kind of chicken, but and I don't go to KFC and get like chicken popcorn or anything crazy like that. I like good chicken, and all Cane's makes is chicken related products, and they've only got like 4 items on the menu. They're basically chicken fingers, and I think they have a chicken sandwich, but chicken.
Yummy.
And a really good sauce that goes with it that apparently people talk about, like, cane sauce. It's a big deal. And I had the pleasure of going there. So that's my pick of the week is Cane's. I guess it's technically Raising Cane's chicken fingers. And a lot of people, I believe, just refer to it as Cane's.
Well, yeah.
My non-pick of the week, Cane's was literally just across the interstate, I-30, from where we were staying.
Yeah.
In the luxurious Super 8. And I'm not going to pick their highway system because it's like a frontage road and you got to go up and do like a whole loop and then go to the this is outside of Rockwall, Dallas area.
Yeah.
Anyway, anyone that's been in at least in Dallas knows that the frontage road, the one-way frontage roads that parallel the highways are insanely obnoxious. Because of this loop that you have to make to get anywhere.
I've only been to Dallas once, the Dallas area, and we're up in Plano. And then,
that's right near there. Yep.
Yeah, and then we were downtown, so I think we just cabbed everywhere. I was there for work, so.
I did use Uber for the second time in my life.
Yeah? Were you a fan?
I've only used Uber.
I'm a fan.
Uber. The first time I ever used Uber was leaving Dallas in December. Second time I used it was also in Dallas.
It's stupid easy.
It was pretty easy.
It's quick and
it was it was good. So anyway, big fan of Uber. Uber worked for me. MDAVR, hope you enjoyed tonight's show. Your man, your Gregg Barsby was here, and we thank him for that.
Durko.
Good old Durko. All right. We don't know who our guest is next week. We should probably. I'll probably look into lining that up.
Yeah, that'd be a good thing.
Maybe somebody who only throws pink discs. That's who we're gonna find.
That's what it takes to get on Smashbox.
It does, so that I can see you. I'm gonna make the quick announcement. Yes, the back 9 from the first round is finally posted. Yeah. So right now, 19 out of the 66 holes that I recorded have been posted. Hopefully, as the weekend gets better, the video angles, the commentary, my voice may or may not get a little better as the weekend went on. We also recorded an exhibition match that took place on Friday. That's going to get released afterward. So there's
You're getting that all in tomorrow, right?
Yeah, there's an unbelievable amount of editing. I saw that Jonathan Gomez had posted saying that he hasn't gotten anything really posted. Him and his brother were out there with 2 cameras, which is, again, even more work. I have 2 cameras for a few of the rounds. But everyone bear with us. You're going to get a ton of Nick Hyde memorial footage. It was a really long and busy and crazy weekend. So to try and get any of it edited while we were there, yet while trying to be social and take in the whole weekend and get to Canes, I mean, it just didn't happen for anyone. And it was just, we're not ESPN yet with a whole production crew. I don't even know why I'm working a camera. I mean, really, I can barely handle that. So, camera and commentary. All right, let's wrap this up. We're going to, if you stick around for the after show, we're going to have Matt Seary call in on Skype and join us for a few minutes.
Oh, we are?
Yeah, to talk about a few things. So if you want to stick around for that as part of the official after show.
What if I don't want to stick around?
Well, then I'll be here. I'll hang out in your basement. We're gonna have a quick chit-chat with him. And if anyone has any questions or anything else, we can go from there. So, for podcast number 26.
Yep.
This is Johnny V. I'm Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy. We will catch you next Tuesday night for podcast number 27 when you step inside the Smashbox.
All right.
All right. I had a destroyer once. He says. All right, so I had talked to Matt earlier. I sent him a quick message saying that, Nick Lum, I'm not calling you anymore. Sorry.
Matt Seary. Thanks, Johnny. Sorry, Matt. That's, go ahead and call us.
Yes, so Matt Seary, the TD from this weekend, is going to give us a quick call, and we'll have him on the line, and we can talk about a couple things. I think we'll get Zoe back on the line. She can rip into him about TD. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
Give him some TD tips. Lots of talk about destroyers. Thank you guys for tuning in. Oh my gosh, we had like a 3-hour show. That's kind of silly.
I know. That is kind of ridiculous.
Matt, are you out there, buddy? Yeah, of course, Mr. Risley, you want an after show. It's because it's only 10 o'clock where you're at.
I know. It's midnight here.
Yeah, come on.
This is normally when we end our after show. Our shows just get longer and longer.
I know. We're going to have to find a way to trim those up.
Yep. Oh, look who's calling.
All right. You should whip a template up for him real quick.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Matt, go ahead and give us some video. Hopefully you got some good cell connection or some good connection.
There we
Hopefully you're properly clothed and ready to go. All right. Let's get you over on the line here, buddy. Can you get a little more light on your face in front of you by any chance?
Yeah, let me see what I can do. Is that any better?
A little bit.
A little bit better.
All right. Well, we talked about him plenty.
Tone it down.
We talked about him plenty tonight, and welcome to the show for the first time, not just in the chat boards, but live and right here with a whole wall full of discs. Matt Seary, how you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing good. Finally getting recovered.
Yeah, you sound like you ran a large tournament this last weekend.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Now, did you pull the pro move and have off on Monday, or did you go right into work on Monday?
I unfortunately went right back to work.
All right, and for everyone besides calling all of our top pros and Facebooking them, what do you do full time?
For about another 6 weeks, I work for an industrial metalworking distributor.
Okay, so you sell widgets?
What was that?
I said, are those widgets then? Is that what you work with? Little widgets?
End mills, taps, dies, bandsaws, all that fun stuff.
Okay. And then, so you said for another 6 weeks. Is there breaking news that we should all know about here? What are you doing after that? Or are you just quitting and leaving them high and dry?
I'm actually moving to Kansas.
Wow. Okay.
Going in-house with Millennium. Going to be taking a job role on with Discs Unlimited to focus on growing Heiserbomb and Millennium alongside each other.
Okay. Wow. That sounds pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's
It
pretty cool.
is. It's a little nerve-wracking because I'm moving to a pretty small town.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
So where are you going to be?
It's Harrington. It's a town of about 2,500 people, just kind of in between Wichita, Emporia, and Salina.
Wow.
Yeah, it's going to be a big change.
So 6 weeks away from that. Now, you just had a couple of, I know we did a video blog a few months ago that had featured some of your products. Talk about what just came out. I think they're actually, they're here now and available. Is that the case? What's going on?
Yeah, actually, the week of the Nick Hyde Memorial, we started shipping the Flak X backpacks.
What'd you call me?
And so we've had all the pre-orders have shipped. We've got a whole bunch going out. I'm expecting all of my metal minis to arrive this week on top of that. So things are really hitting full-fledged. For the Nick Hyde Memorial, we were able to release the first run Frontline Veterans. I actually have one right here.
Okay.
And it's worked out to be a really nice complement to the prototypes. They're noticeably more stable, which was quite surprising, being that the prototypes were a champion blend instead of a star blend.
Now, what were players treated to in the player pack this last weekend?
Goodness. For all amateurs, there was an event shirt, the Frontline Veteran, limited edition lightweight Sirius Quasars. There was a Nick Hyde Memorial bag tag, Heiserbomb Swirly Mini, event dry fit shirt, Heiserbomb Birdie bag, a couple of Bearded Brothers samples, a couple of coupons from Die Master Discs, Eric Fenn, who's a local from the Play It Again Sports store. It was a pretty stout players pack. And then for the trophy only divisions, we threw in our limited edition Recon tanks.
Wow. I should have just signed up and not played and got all the good stuff.
How'd you have gotten it home?
It was a good one. The pros even managed to get a shirt, bag tag, a few goodies out of it too. I had a few left over I had to send out today that surprised a couple of the guys that didn't realize they were getting them.
Oh, that's pretty sweet. Well, and you know, as you've experienced, a lot of pros usually don't really care too much about player packs because they want to see all that money go into the purse. But you clearly did a really good job with adding a ton of money to the purse and then still taking care of them. So what would you say would be the number one thing that you learned now that this monster A tier is, has been put to bed for all of, not quite 48 hours?
That's tough. Through the experience I had with helping in previous events, I'd already had a good bit of learning experience. And it's tough because you don't want to cut off sponsorships at a certain date, but at the same time, late sponsorships rolling in make it hard to have all that preparation work done that you want to. I had 3 that rolled in the last 3 days before the tournament, and you've already got the caddy books printed, T-signs printed, all these other things. It makes it hard to make sure you recognize those sponsors on top of everybody else.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. You don't want to turn down their contributions. However, like you said, you definitely prep for them, prep for all those other things much further ahead than that.
Yeah, because you want to make sure you take care of the sponsors and that you give them the recognition they deserve, because in order for them to come back, they need to see the benefit in continuing to support what we're trying to do.
Now, what do you think sponsors, you just said you want to recognize them and you want them to come back and you want them to recognize the benefit. What do you think makes, if generically speaking, what makes the sponsors happy? If somebody came to you and you're a business owner within disc golf and some tournament contacted you and said, hey, I'm running a tournament, can you give X, Y, and Z? And when you reply with, I can, but here's what I'd like to see. Like, what are some of the things that you think tournaments should be doing to recognize and to thank those sponsors?
I think one of the big things is having a long-term plan. As I worked towards this event, I never had a plan that just encompassed this year. My plan all along has been looking at 2016, 2017, and even into 2018. And so I had, when I went to Innova to talk about fundraiser discs, and as I went to Play It Again Sports, and these other people, they know that this isn't something that's just a one-year event that's going to be done and over with and never happening again. They know that my goals are far beyond just a big A tier. And so with that, making sure that you have a website that gives them the recognition after the event. And so through the Heiserbaum website and what will eventually be an actual Nick Hyde Memorial website, we will have a running list of sponsors on not just this year, but for future years, so that people will be able to go and see who has supported building the event to where it was this year and where I want it to be in the future.
Okay. No, and that makes perfect sense. Sponsors come and go. Sometimes, companies are around, not as long as the tournament itself. But seeing all those people that patronize, and Johnny V and I talked about a long time ago when we originally had Jim Van Lannen on one of our very early shows. Yep. I thought one of the cool things that he did that I, as a fellow TD, took advantage of is, he had literally, would have 100 sponsors listed in the player guide, and right next to it, he'd have their phone number and their address. And sometimes on the way home, I would call if I didn't patronize that place, which obviously I only could patronize a couple of them, but I may call a few of those and say, hey, just wanted to say thank you for your, contributing to the event, in whatever way that they did. So, and it's tough. I mean, as you know, it's getting really competitive, and Barsby kind of touched on this. It's getting really competitive within the sponsor realm and the manufacturers. There's some politics that take place. And the players may recognize it or not, but as a TD and as a promoter, you've got to kind of work through all those things. And what was that like?
That was a new experience with me being new to actually having a manufacturing side to manage on top of just promoting an event. And with the Innovatize, there are, just like with Dynamic and Latitude, what the relationships that they have. You have to make sure you recognize and you take care of those, especially within our industry. And it's one of those things that isn't necessarily the most fun to do, because I want to be able to support where I can outside of maybe necessarily the family. Sure. And so it's a unique situation to be in that does make it a little more tricky.
Yeah, and even obviously, Gregg Barsby talks about he really has one main sponsor right now, and it happens to be a bag sponsor, and that's kind of ironic because you make bags, you make great bags, and yet you guys can still support one another and recognize one another. But as things continue to grow, that not saying you two are going to have a rift, but just in general, it can make things a little bit more dicey or challenging, with all the different companies.
It definitely can, but at the same time, I think that's a good place that we're at for the sport.
Yeah.
It shows that we're growing, and competition only breeds growth, I believe, also.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. As you continue to get better with you and your products, and more people get into it, they're obviously going to push you, and so on and so forth. That makes sense. Mike Bean is on the board, and I don't know oh, okay. I think you may be talking about
the Pizza Hut sponsorship.
Yeah,
back
Pizza
from
Hut
Worlds.
in '93. Somebody had said, Mike had said, did you watch the '93 Worlds in Huntsville? Pizza Hut was a big sponsor, and then later he says, where has that sponsorship gone? And I think that's a great question. Not that we're Johnny and I were involved really in that era. And I guess I'll answer it, Mike. That could have been a very local thing. That Pizza Hut,
local,
just like you may go to some city and that local Subway may be providing all the sandwiches for free, and you go 10 minutes away to a different Subway and they don't even know what disc golf is.
Or the big one is the local Coke bottling plant.
Yeah, correct.
It's Coca-Cola and.
Yeah, it's Coke, but it's really somebody who knew somebody at that local bottling plant that got you guys free Powerades, that weekend.
Yeah, and then Seti actually said that it was a local Pizza Hut sponsor because he lives in Huntsville.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
So he nailed
I guess
it.
we just make stuff up, and sometimes it
That's
happens.
right.
So, competition-wise, player-wise, talk a little bit about your experience seeing some of this amazing golf this weekend. And I know you didn't get to, just sit around in a hammock and watch all the best golf, but I mean, you saw the scores and you saw, the top players in the world come attack your backyard and your courses. How did that go for you?
Man, it was a special weekend. I got to witness a good portion of the men's final 9 in the midst of kind of getting pulled away and having people come up and want to talk to me. And unfortunately, this area is an area that hasn't been blessed with many big events over the years. With as many courses as we have, I hate to say it, but it's kind of sad that the Dallas area has never had a tournament of this size or any kind of major or NT here. So it was really special to get a lot of these guys in, and it was the reason I was so aggressive in pursuing trying to get them here. The scores, and especially that first round Barsby put up, I know I told you I thought that was going to be 1100 rated. That was for the course, and with him only having played it one time, that was an absolutely phenomenal score for him to put up.
Yeah, as you said, Barsby played the course on Friday.
Yeah,
for the first time ever. He played it kind of blind. Well, he played it. That was the first time he'd ever literally been on the course. And then Saturday he showed up and shot, the hottest round by 3 strokes over Macbeth. So
well,
that says something.
There's something to be said about what Zoe always says, getting to zero.
Yeah.
Where you're not overthinking it, you're just playing, and that. He knew the course a little bit to kind of gauge things, but he didn't think about, oh crap, the OB is 20 feet to the right there, whatever. So that could play into that.
Yeah, some very impressive.
He was able to go out there without thinking and just kind of play his game.
Yep.
And this year has really kind of been that way for him. I got to watch him at Texas State's. We know, I believe it was the St. Patty's Day Classic that he took home the win at. And he's just been absolutely crushing it this year. It's fun to watch, and it's fun to see what's going to happen with that.
Yeah, he's he certainly played some really good golf. On the ladies' side, we talked about Paige, and not to take anything away from Katrina, because obviously she had such an amazing year last year, and Katrina throws just as far as Paige. I mean, I talked about Paige's distance, but Katrina throws as far or further on any given day, but yet Paige seemed to put it all together and make it happen.
I think Paige has just a touch more control of her distance than Kat does. I mean, they both throw far, but I think Paige just right now is dialed in.
Yeah. What did you think about that on the women's side?
This weekend, this was Paige's home courses.
Exactly.
So she had a little bit of an advantage with the fact that, I mean, she grew up here. She's been playing these courses for as long as she's been playing when it comes to Audubon and Harry Myers, pretty much since it's been in the ground. Yeah. It was good to see her defend from the A tier I assisted at last year. She's now taken home 2 straight wins on these courses.
Okay.
And she played good all weekend.
So you could say Paige, a little home course advantage and has some lockdown. You thought I was going to say something
punny.
No, I wasn't this time. Now you're making me think of one.
I know. So
anyway, what's next on the agenda? I mean, I know it's not necessarily a letdown, but what's next in your big plans? Obviously, moving's a big deal. What about tournament wise? How do you gear up after putting so much heart and soul into this event? How do you gear up for your next one, and when is it?
Oh my goodness, that's a little intimidating actually, because my next event is Memorial Day weekend. So I'm just like 6 weeks away from a 3-course B tier out in Tyler. Okay. Which 3 courses on the same piece of property, including the infamous Dogwood course.
Yep.
Month after that, I've got another 3-course B tier in Abilene for the Wild Hair. And then I've got a month off. And funny enough, as we talked about competition, I am going to be helping with the Waco Charity Open, which is an A tier again this year. And Steve Story from Dynamic Discs Louisville and I are going to be going down there to lend hands to the Waco crew to help make that a big successful event.
Cool.
and then I'll have September, October, and probably a November event on top of it, and then planning on doing Battle at the Bond again in December. So it's
Awesome.
it's a packed year, on top of the fact that I'm already working on the plans for the Nick Hyde Memorial next year, and really honestly hoping to make the push for an NT with that event.
Okay. Now, I didn't bring it up. I thought of it earlier, but it escaped me in my ramblings. Was there a story somewhere about Paige's not so great luck with her trophy? Did something happen there? Did you hear this story?
No, I didn't hear about this.
Oh, well, rumor had it, while packing up and getting ready to leave the parking lot at some point or another, whether it was her good friend or not, I don't know. At some point or another, there seemed to be an issue with her beautiful, absolutely gorgeous trophy not leaving fully intact.
Oh, really?
Oh no.
Yeah, I mean, there was this. It was. I have I'm sure there's pictures out there somewhere, and I have some as well. This big glass, gorgeous glass trophy, and actually, she took a picture pre-issue. She took a picture with it, and I guess I just heard once we got back to the hotel that there may have been an issue with.
Bummer.
Yeah. Here, Johnny, I'll show you a quick picture that the world can't see, but these big, huge glass, gorgeous trophies. So, okay. Well, maybe you didn't hear that then.
Yeah, no,
you weren't asked for any super glue. You weren't asked for any super glue, I guess, then.
Well, luckily that trophy was made by a local, so worst case scenario, we can get it remade.
Yeah, they were gorgeous. Anything else that you want to let us all in on? I mean, I know you're a huge supporter of the show. We obviously appreciate it. I know either that or you've just been pimping yourself to get people to talk about it. But no, you've been a huge supporter of the show. And obviously, I've been honored to be down there twice now in the last 5 months to do some coverage. Anything else you'd like to share with the world out there?
Well, it's not fully public knowledge yet, but
it is
Heiserbaum
now.
and Millennium are the official bag sponsors for the Maple Hill Open this year also.
Awesome.
So I'm going to get to take that event in for the first time.
Don't bother.
To see how Steve Dodge what he does, and kind of get a chance to learn a little bit more to make myself a better tournament director.
Sweet.
And I'm excited about that one.
Yeah, it is
It's a phenomenal event.
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to be there for a lot of different reasons, and we look forward to covering it. Of course, it's just it's and it's a good place to be. We talked about all the the sponsors, but then also all the volunteers and all the people that help make that event so special. And if you polled our sport's 100 top players that have been there, I would 90 of them are going to say that Vibram is their top event, or
top one,
at least their top 3. So it's a good place to be.
And I hear nothing but glowing reviews about that event. And so it's one that I knew I needed to get to continue to make myself better at what I want to do.
Steve Dodge personally, well, he's the jury's out. No, I love that guy. And then I also believe I'm going to see you again. I can maybe pick up my raincoat from you in a couple weeks. Is that true?
Yeah. What is it? 2 weeks now, I believe.
2 weeks from tonight, I think we're talking about leaving. I think we're gonna have to do the show from in the car.
I'm not even sure if I'm going or not.
Really?
I need to talk with Bobby and Eric about making sure we have stuff. Otherwise, it's always safe for me to be here.
Sure.
And we had talked about hotels and things of that nature. It might just be easier for you to find a spot, one person. So we'll see. We'll talk about it.
So anyway, I will for sure see you in a couple of weeks at the Glass Blown. Is that correct?
That is. That's another one of those events I'll get to experience for the first time this year. Unfortunately, not playing it as it did fill up so ridiculously quickly last year.
Sure.
But I'm going to get the chance to meet one of my sponsored players from Michigan, Kaylee Campbell.
Yep.
Get a chance to caddy for her, kind of take the weekend in and get to see Harrington for the very first time before I move there a month later.
There you go. That'd be a good idea. Go check things out.
Yeah.
Just roll into town.
What'd you say, 3,600 people?
2,500.
2,500,
So
okay. Is there a course there?
I've never lived anywhere even 100 times like bigger than that. I've been Dallas, Denver, Seattle, so I'm in for a little bit
You're
of
a
culture
big city
shock
kind
here
of boy.
soon.
Yeah.
You're one of those big city boys. And then I'm just gonna go out on a limb. It is Kansas, but I'm gonna go out on a limb and say there's not a course there.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Is there a course there? A disc golf course?
I've got a 9-hole course.
Oh.
And that's where Dennis Vaschholz hosts the Discs Unlimited Open every year.
Okay.
He's got some property alongside it that they turned into a 20-hole course, and that tournament actually happened a couple weeks ago. So it looks like I'm going to have a nice empty course to practice and get my form fixed on once I get moved, instead of fighting through Autobahn and Harry Myers and our local courses that constantly have 4-packs and 6-packs everywhere.
Every single hole. Awesome. All right, Matt. Well, I appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you again in, like you said, just a couple of weeks. I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk. Maybe by then all your videos will be posted. And I did just make a note. The back 9 is posted. And again, I'm going to start working on the second round, at least the front portion of it. I'm going to start working on that right away. So I want to try and kind of roll these out as quickly as possible. And for those that don't already know, Gomez was out there working with him and his brother, and they're going to be bringing you shot-by-shot action of other cards that I wasn't on. So it was great that to give the event as much exposure as we could. We kind of had it all planned out, where everyone was going to be, and plenty of video coverage for people to take it all in. And that was all due to you, Matt, so we appreciate it. All right.
Thank you for coming down.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll talk more soon, I'm sure, but like I said, looking forward to seeing you again in a couple weeks.
Definitely. You guys have a great night. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Take care. Have a great night, Matt.
You too, guys.
See ya. All right. Well, again, that was our tournament director from this last weekend. Very, very successful tournament. He worked very hard on it, raised a ton of money, and it was really special for a lot of different reasons this weekend. And he's driven. He's motivated.
It sounds like it, considering he's got an event every month, darn near.
Yeah, and that's cute until he gets all bitter and jaded and like I am now. No, we wish him the best of luck. His heart's in the right place, and he does some really good work. And, like he said, going to places like Glassblown Open, going to Maple Hill Open, you can see what things golfers really like and enjoy, and, borrow a few of their ideas from event to event.
Zoe kind of, I can't say she touched on it, but making it an experience. People like the fact that it's an experience, and if you go to Maple Hill, it's about all the extras. It's about the games.
Yeah.
It's about
the ice cream social.
The ice cream social. People love the course, and you need that. But for almost everybody other than the Open players and the Open women, it's about the extras.
Yeah.
GBO, look at what they've done with their. There's a reason that the Open players love it because it's a good tournament. The advanced players and the amateur players love it because of the amenities.
Yeah,
you get to tour the thing. You get a custom stamp. You get this. I saw chocolate bars. I saw GBO chocolate bars today.
Oh, wait a minute! I didn't. Nobody told me of this update.
Yeah, did you not see it?
No, I really didn't.
Yeah, they've got. There's a local. It looks like a local chocolate thing. Has GBO stamped chocolate bars you can buy. And I don't know any. I don't know any of the details. Yes, I'm sure there'll be some of your players back.
Let me look into it right now.
So, it's quite. It's got the GBO logo on it.
Very cool.
So, that's part of that their whole city gets into it. So,
very true. That is one huge advantage that they have in Emporia.
Yeah, I think that's and that helps being a smaller city. You're not getting the entire city of Dallas into the Nick Hyde Memorial. You can get maybe a small portion of it. But
yeah, I
think that's what and. I don't know much about the Beaver State, that if it's got the extracurriculars.
There I'll say, they treat the players really well.
Yeah.
And those courses are second to none.
Sure.
They're just absolutely just gorgeous, and they're challenging but fair and fun, and they're just, so they've got a lot of things going for them. But the courses, when you think Beaver State, the first thing you think of is, oh my gosh, playing Milo McIver is just a treat in itself.
So I think that's where you see that's where there's a lot of love for these events is the extracurriculars. You know, it doesn't hurt, you know, that with Maple Hill you've got to, you know, you usually get a bunch of people staying on site. Everyone can kind of hang out and chat either in the house or, you know, camping and things like that. That helps out a lot. I mean, it's a community, but that's how you get people to your events. That's how you create a big event. Not so much a festival. I know that festival idea has been thrown around 1,000 times, and I've never once actually seen it pan out. You sometimes see disc golf at a festival,
sure,
but you never see a festival around disc golf.
Yeah, no, you haven't. I mean, I'll say that
You know,
I bet you GBO and Vibram are the two closest things to that, though.
sure, but I'm talking more like a music festival, things like that. We've seen, you know, it's yeah. I mean, it's just I was on a string
thinking pretty hard.
Yeah, I was, and then I thought better of it.
Okay.
Sometimes you want to say things and you shouldn't.
Oh, there's a lot of things that I probably shouldn't have said.
Tie my tongue. So I think it's almost a worthless proposition to try to throw this huge festival around disc golf and music and this and that. Focus on the disc golf. Have extra amenities. If you want to have a band play, awesome. Bring in a band. If you want to have cool games, do it after or the day between, between days and things like that. That's great. Do it. But it has to be about the golf first.
Yeah.
And I think that's where some people are missing the idea and some of the ideas I've heard in the past. Not these particular events, really.
Sure.
So.
Alrighty. We got anything going on out there? You guys ready for the Bucks in the playoffs?
Yeah, I know. They just announced some new jerseys and a new look for like their third new look in like 6 years.
I was just gonna say I'm not a NBA basketball follower, but I know the Bucks have undergone.
They undergo a new change every that way.
Okay.
I mean, it's like baseball. How do you compete with the Yankees? You know, when it's there's salary caps, blah blah blah. That's a whole discussion.
Yeah,
you know, especially Milwaukee, small city. You know, people want to go to where there's the big city, and it doesn't matter. I mean, basketball is basketball. Look at the Browns. Just 2 years ago, I think they announced a new logo, which went over like crap, and now they've got new jerseys. It's
It just it seems like the Bucks
gimmick.
have really been
the Bucks
have done it a lot.
They change their colors, they change their all the time. It's always like a greenish whatever. So, anyways, I'll root for them. I didn't get to go to a game this year, but
they're done.
The playoffs.
Oh, they're not in the playoffs.
They are.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Well, it's the NBA. Like half the teams make the playoffs.
Well, yeah.
So.
All right. There's apparently some. I don't know if it's baby mama drama. There's some action taking place on the board. Don't want to. Heard about the new stadium stuff too.
Yeah, they're trying to build a new arena. Not so much a stadium. I think that's a little different than an arena. Is it?
I don't know.
A stadium versus arena, because you don't go to a baseball arena. You go to a baseball stadium.
Yeah, but
you don't go to a basketball stadium. You go to a basketball arena.
Isn't I'm gonna sound silly here, but what
I don't know. I don't know what the technical difference would be, but I know it sounds like there should be one.
I could have swore there was.
I was gonna say, an arena is a building with a dome on it, with a cap on it, but look at some like Miller Park isn't an arena. It's a stadium, and it has a retractable roof.
Well, let's Google it.
Or Google arena versus stadium.
Arena versus stadium.
How y'all feel about urban disc golf downtown?
It depends on the town.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, it depends. If it's an organized event where the city is all about it, that's cool.
Or are you just out playing at 3 a.m, like I might have recently been doing?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you shouldn't be throwing whatever, so... Jeff, I wasn't picking on you by any means by your arena versus stadium, but yes, I have heard new things about the arena. It's very political here in town. I don't know. Is Jeff from the area?
I'm not sure, Jeff Riddle. I apologize. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure where you're from, Jeff. So if maybe you're from Illinois or Midwest something, but yeah, we've got a new stadium and there's taxpayer money going, and we've got like a governor who's going to end up running for president in the next couple of weeks. He's going to announce my assumption, and so there's all these tax implications, and it's a big rigmarole right now. But It'll get sorted out. It always does. If it doesn't, bummer. We have 2 new owners as of this year. So.
Not Herb Cole.
No, Herb Cole sold to 2 different people. To these 2 people. So.
Yeah, I mean, there's I've clicked on like 1 or 2 Google links that have just said that they can, like, if you look up stadium in the dictionary, arena is a word that might be there.
I'm sure there's synonyms, but you use them for different.
They're various Greek origins. It is funny though, because as someone said in one of the examples I just read, they say how somebody, you wouldn't say, this political figure is throwing their hat into the stadium. They throw their hat into the arena, which is, obviously.
Yeah.
One way to look at it. Okay, so here's someone who's, we'll say it sounds logical. An arena is smaller than a stadium, and only certain sports are played in each. For example, ice hockey is played in an arena, which is indoors. American and Canadian football, as opposed to soccer, is played in a stadium. Bullfighting takes place in an arena, whereas rock concerts are played in stadiums because of their far greater size.
Well, I mean, I think you can play a rock
concert in a stadium
in an arena.
Yeah, I agree.
There's been in the Bradley
when
Center.
You're Poison, that's where you have to play.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so
there may have been a challenge that was posed by me the first night of arriving in Dallas area to play from our Super 8 parking lot to the neighboring QT gas station. And there may have been another parking lot or something in between, but there was footage taken of Bobby Music and Steve Rico playing. They played it as a par 4, and they both parred it. And to say that they took 4s and says something, because they throw pretty far.
Yeah. And
finally, on the final night there, while visiting, I said we would make it happen, and we went out and filmed it. Not sure that will ever be public, but it was a good time. Kelsey Wilmerding was assisting, and
right. Cool.
Yeah.
Tyler, are the pins in Wisconsin courses now? No, most of them are not yet. They'll probably be in the next 2 weeks.
It's all weather dependent still.
I mean, it looks like we're supposed to only get a little bit of rain over the next week and a half, so who knows? But
I've got exciting news. It's a secret where and when, but I am going to go work on a course design Thursday.
Cool.
That's all I'm going to say. But working with a semi-local municipality.
Cool.
And have a little property to take a look at. It's got some land. Not too exciting. I've been there to do a quick initial walkthrough.
Yeah. Smaller park or?
No, it's a very large piece of property. There's just not a lot of trees.
Okay.
And there's not a lot of elevation, and therefore there's only so much magic that can be worked out there. But there's definitely the potential for at least 9, and possibly even an expansion into 18 holes.
Okay.
So Wisconsin may be seeing some of that action. Kai, happy birthday. Good seeing you this weekend. So happy birthday today, buddy. Oh, it's just about wrapped up, or it is already done. Yesterday was your birthday.
Yeah.
Technically.
Well, it depends which coast he's on.
He's down in Dallas area.
Right, so his birthday's over.
Why is it saying that it's still your birthday? It shouldn't be. Anyway, I think unless anybody's got anything really good, I don't believe
I don't care if anyone has anything good. I think we're done. If they have something good, they can save it for next week.
MD Aviar, I'm just gonna say, Durko, I'm a little disappointed. You were very quiet tonight. For as big of a Barsby fanboy or number 1 fan as you are, you were very quiet tonight. So, yeah,
maybe
they don't pull them at most courses. People play in the snow. At the course, no, a lot. Some of our courses stay in during the winter, and they literally pull them out in like February or, and then leave them early. Late May.
Yep.
Early to mid-May. So they get pulled for the spring thaw. That's the critical time. Are you doing BG this year? No, we are not doing Bowling Green.
Sorry.
No, that's the weekend before. That's the weekend before Glass Blown. So it's just too hectic with too many things going on. So we will not be doing Bowling Green. All right, we're gonna wrap it up. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Please come back next week for our unknown guest. we'll find somebody to have, and we'll bring you more Smashbox stuff. Look for Disc Golf Guy videos almost every day this next week, covering the Nick Hyde Memorial. So again, for Jonny and Terry, the Disc Golf Guy, we'll catch you guys next week. We're done with our after show. Step inside the Smashbox, hashtag, all that other stuff. Bye.